How is that? How are we doing, guys? Is that working? Yes. Lovely. Okay. Okie dokie. Let's get this show on the road, Pete, shall we? Right. I don't know who's watching or what's happening. Obviously, this video will be staying on the page after I finish this as well. So for anybody that's watching after this live video, thank you for taking the time to click and watch. H said, hello mate, nice to see you are doing a live on YouTube. Thank you, mate. Well, it's the first proper live that I've done on YouTube for quite a while, actually. So there's going to be a few more of these when I actually do get some time to, well, to do them. And I'm not drawn away from, from just my work. So thanks for watching. The bloody chats don't stay on the screen, do they? Sorry, guys, this is going through my phone. So top chat, live chat, all chats, all visible. Here we go. Is that going to keep them on there? Lovely channel and work. Thank you very much. I'm hoping these chats stay on the screen. No, they don't. Of course they don't. If anybody, I mean, I'm not used to using live through my phone. This is usually doing this through a decent web camera or a GoPro and linking through. But the phone that I'm using is more than capable. It's an S21 Ultra, so the camera quality is fantastic. Why they keep vanishing? If anyone's got any ideas what I can do to keep the chats on the screen, I'm all ears with this. Need some advice on my Technics covers. They have cracked and broken off. Well, again, if they've cracked and broken off, my friend, there's not a great deal you really can do. I mean, if the actual dust covers are broken and the backs of them, the acrylic's broken, the only options that you have, obviously, will be to super glue the damn things back on, resin them back together, and obviously hope that the sockets are going to be man enough once they've been put back on. What the hell's that? I can't come through. Sorry, guys. Just making sure that they're obviously more than capable to sit back on once they're in position. But it'd help really if you told me what part was broken. But there are so many options out there now for you for dust covers that you can physically use. You haven't got to go for your genuine Technics dust covers. If they're both in bad condition and have been through the wars, then you can get yourself dust covers from, obviously you can get like your aftermarket dust covers. I used to supply them as well. I should have some more back in stock soon. There are many other ones that are very similar to Technics that will just sit on top. You can buy rubber etchings that sit on the back where the sockets would go and just sit them neatly on top. It won't cost you much money at all. DeckSavers is the obvious route really to go for. DeckSavers I find are the cheapest alternative to going for dust covers. But the best advice I will give you if you're using Mark IIs is obviously to take the sockets off the back so they sit flush. Corner also one is the back broken off with the hinge. Look, I would personally, I'd be thinking about changing it. There's not a lot you can really do to repair them. I've seen this very similar, I've seen it with everything, with Mark IIs. I've seen them with M3D covers, Mark V covers, even when they haven't got the physical hinges. They do break, people do break them. It's quite rare really with Mark V and M3D. But yeah, it does happen. Or M5G and Mark V, sorry. So it's up to you what you do, but I really would go for DeckSavers and take the sockets off the back and leave them all flush. So they sit straight over the top. DeckSavers, just to give you an idea of what they look like, because I've got one down here, if you haven't seen them before. So this is an old DeckSaver that I used quite a while ago. It's just sitting underneath one of my workbenches. They are custom vacuum. They're basically vacuum formed bits of plastic. They're very hard wearing. We used to do tests on these many moons ago where you could actually jump on the top of these. They last you for more than enough time. They're not going to break anything on there. They're fantastic for securing your turntables. Let me quickly turn my notifications off, guys, because I've just noticed that my phone is not on Do Not Disturb. So give me just a second. Right, that will do it. There we go, guys. So sorry about that, everybody. Yeah, I thought I'd turn on Do Not Disturb so that none of these beeping Facebook noises and things come through. But yeah, DeckSavers, so they're vacuum formed bits of plastic. They're made specifically to fit around a turntable. So this one in particular is for your Technics style. So all the edges and all the ridges around the corner, they fit on top. They're not going to scratch anything. and just are a fantastic option to go for, other than going for dust covers. And if your dust covers have seen the war, they're very scratched, damaged, etc., these are the best option for it. They're not very expensive. They're under half the price of one dust cover. You can buy two of these, nearly free of them. And if you buy them from places like Juno, for an example, Juno Records, you can do really well with them. What's the best way to clean the dots on the platter? Again, it's personal preference what you do on this, but I like a bit of elbow grease on mine. Some people use polishing wheels. Some platters are just beyond the point of no return. I mean, I've had some in recently that have just been corroded and pitted and look like they've spent the last 40,000 years underwater. If that's like yours, then the only option you really have got is to strip everything down and hope that the material underneath the paint is not eaten into, and that can obviously be recoated. Now, to get it nice and shiny, if they're in good condition but just very, very dull, you can use clean. I'll actually explain it to you, mate. Give us a second. Yeah, you can use aluminium polish. It's the obvious thing to use. I mean, you can use Auto Sol, you can use Mother's Mag Cleaner, a mag polish that gets in. So basically it's elbow grease. You can use polishing wheels and things. Don't use a Dremel. That's the biggest thing you should never do on these. It's the worst way of ruining your platters, because you could go too fast and rip into the paint underneath and make yourself a hell of a lot of pain. So Auto Sol, Mother's aluminium mag polish, microfiber cloth, lots of elbow grease, keep going over a couple of hours on each platter and they will come up nice and shiny. There are other things that you can do to quickly get the shine back up. Use Volving sandpaper for an example, but really fine sandpaper. But I'm not going to go into that and give away all of my hints and tips, but that is something that a lot of people do as well. The ideal way of doing it, though, you should get a new layer on top, is to put it through a lathe. So you take a very, very minuscule amount of the top layer off of your platter, and obviously shows bare underneath. But yeah, Auto Sol is extremely cheap. I mean, you can buy 2 tubs on Amazon for about £8. Usually you can buy them with a pack of microfiber cloths for about a tenner. So it is definitely worth thinking about buying and just investing in that. 1 tub's going to last you an absolute lifetime as long as you clean them properly. There are many hacks that you can do. There's lots of videos online where people have been giving hints and tips. People were using toothpaste because of the fluoride in toothpaste. There was another guy I saw using fucking peanut butter. No, thank you very much. Don't know why you'd even want to do that on aluminium. You've got people using Brasso. Again, I'm not a massive fan of Brasso. Brasso is a bit dated now. I mean, maybe the last time I ever used Brasso was on an old motorbike when I was about 16. It's going back quite a long time now. So Auto Sol and Mother's aluminium mag polish, 2 are the best I've ever used, and without a doubt the best option really for you. I'm going to quickly grab my drink and my vape. Give me a second, guys. So obviously we're live on here, so I haven't got to worry about stopping and pausing and everything else. Brasso, yeah, it is old school. It's really old school. How's the picture and sound quality, guys, for those that are watching? I've only got a few people on here. Obviously, give it the day of this going on, and I'm sure people will be watching this in their own leisure. It's usually in the evenings that people tend to watch my videos. But I thought I'd do a video just to explain a few more bits regarding these fake Technics that I had in recently. I'm also going to talk about the mixers, turntables. We're going to talk about the digital pitch control. Just talk about random bits, because I'm going to ask a lot of questions. The first thing I want to talk about is these mixers decks. So obviously, as we all know now, I put the video on a little while ago regarding that, and it said that I'll upload a video showing you all what they're like to use. And what's basically happened, where quite a few people now, where they've actually gone to buy these turntables, and unfortunately they've sold out. I mean, they were, like I explained, they're discontinued, so it was more a case of get them while you can. DV247 had loads of them in their main depot in Germany when I actually popped the order through, because I nearly bought 3 of them off them to do a free deck mix and do an upload for that. That didn't happen in the end. I ended up buying a pair. I thought, you know what, there's no point jumping the gun and buying 3 of these bloody things, because if they're not very good, I'm going to have to send them back, or sell them cheaper and send them to someone on the page. So no, I ended up buying a pair of them. It was purely for the review. There's been a lot of people online that have been asking me about them, hence why I bought the turntables. That's why I did the review on them. So the physical mixing review will be going up soon. That's all I'm going to say, because what people don't understand is it's not as simple as just hitting the button. I mean, I have recorded the video. The mix video is recorded. It was a top-down view along with my Z2 mixer and these two Mixars turntables. So you can see me mixing on vinyl. That's what I've done. It's ready to rock and roll, but I need to edit the video. So there's certain things that I want to do, adding the title through for my logo in the beginning and fading it out. Can't just upload something, it's not right, I can't just do that. So it needs to go through the computer. It's a HD copy as well, so it needs to actually encode. The longest process for getting things on YouTube is waiting for these things to process and encode online. So if you're doing it in a normal low resolution copy, like I did with the first Mixars video, by complete mistake from my phone, then you're going to get a million people comment saying the quality's no good, Jay, can you do it again, and all this, and it's just not worth it. So you've got to do it properly, otherwise people won't look at the video, or they'll take 2 seconds looking at it and they'll just, you know, throw it out the water. I'll tell you what we're going to do. I'm going to quickly share this link onto my page as well, so give me a second. Sorry about this, guys, but it is live, so bear with me. I'm literally just in the background, so give me a second. I'm going to quickly just copy and paste my link. Copy. Right, that's now working. That is now working. That's fantastic. Right, now what I'm going to quickly do is grab my tablet. I'm going to quickly grab my little Windows tablet, because I can't see, every time the comments appear on the screen, they vanish off straight away, and it is pretty bloody annoying. So what I'm going to quickly do, grab a little Windows tablet, get this plugged in, get it powered on, so I can actually respond back to all of your comments, guys. Give me a second. Die would be nice. In all fairness, I haven't actually used this in quite a while, so give me a second, guys. I might have to clean the contacts for it. There we go. It's only an old little Windows RT tablet. It's what I do my schematics on. So if you imagine I look at schematics for Technics and I read through different traces on the boards, which is a really handy thing to have. It's so bloody small that you just sit it down, pop it near one of my workbenches, and if I want to use it on a different workbench, I'll just pull the thing off with the connector, take it to another workbench, plug it in. But now I can see the comments going through, so I've got to keep relying on the screen. So for those of you that are joining from the Facebook page, thank you very much for joining, guys. Nothing's going to be dulled down. It's going to be exactly the same as the page. I know people on the Facebook page say that I act more professional on the YouTube video, and yes, you have to. You've got to be careful what you say and all of this. But yeah, it's not going to be the case for this video. So don't worry, guys. It's not that. It's not like that. Just waiting for this thing to load up, because I know we've got lots of comments coming. I've just seen more people commenting on here. So this is the thing, if I'd have thought of this before I'd done the video, I'd be able to just look at the comments now, wouldn't I? But in true Jason style, I haven't done that. How you doing, Paul? How you doing, Pete? Stream is spot on, the sound is great on YouTube. Wicked. It should be a HD copy, so the sound should be pucker and the video quality should be absolutely spot on. So in true Windows style, we've got an update on my little tablet. It's now 30% on here, so it shouldn't take too long. It's only a little tablet. Once that's done, I can then get all your comments on the screen. But yeah, we're going to talk about Technics in general. We're going to talk about the pitch controls. We're going to talk about Mixar's turntables. We're going to talk about the fake Technics I had in the other day, and obviously anything else that you guys want to know about while I'm on here, because I very rarely do live videos on YouTube. How you doing, Paul? I see you watching again, mate. Sound is brilliant. Thank you very much. Yeah, we're just waiting now on this. In fact, while we're waiting for this, I'm going to tell you what happened this morning, because it's quite funny, right? So I, in my wisdom, decided, I thought, right, before I get here, because my hair, if you've not been watching any of my videos on Facebook, you'll notice that I'm always wearing hats at the moment, because my hair was like that. It was all bushy, right? Needed a haircut badly. And long story short, I got banned from, this is all relevant, it's quite funny, I got banned from Culture to Kawasaki back about, what was it, just before Christmas. I got banned from Culture to Kawasaki, and the reason I used to go in there was going to get my hair cut, because I actually had a barber's in the bike shop. So I used to go down the back of there, and then me and the bike shop fell out because of a battery that I bought, and they illegally sold me something, and they didn't accept any liability. I kicked off in the shop. Long and the short of it, they banned me. Right, big mistake, they banned me. And I've been trying to find somewhere else to get my hair cut, and I hadn't had it cut since just before Christmas, so it was really, really long. And I thought, right, let's go into town, venture into town, go and find somewhere, just quickly get it cut, and then get on the bike, get over here. So got up early, went straight to town, went to my usual place that I used to go to, had my hair cut. Guy didn't understand a word I was saying, didn't listen to what I said, tried cutting it twice, messed it up royally. And I just literally, I'm not one of these guys that kicks off and doesn't pay. I was like, look, just here's your money. I walked straight out that door, and there's two barbers next to each other. I literally walked out of one and walked into the one at the end in case the other guy walked out next door, because they're all joined together. Walked out and had my hair fixed from the other one. Ended up having to pay to have it washed and cut, because the amount of gel this bloke put in my hair, oh my God, it's like he took quarter of the tub out, and then I said I wanted it spiky. He literally got it all together, clamped it all in his hand like that. Slicked it all through my hair, and yeah, I ended up spending what should have been about 10 or 13 quid. I'd spending like 30 quid to get my hair sorted this morning before I got here. So yeah, that was a nice little joint up in town, and town's freezing here in Colchester. I'm based in Colchester in Essex. The town is really cold at the moment, but it was quiet, which is wicked. So getting into town was easy, going round town was nice and easy. And apart from a couple of people trying to flog you the big issue, everything was all good. Prince, these margaritas took me to heaven. These margaritas take me to heaven and back. Okay. But yeah, so here we go. 87, 89% complete. We're nearly there, guys. If those should just join them to do my update on my tablet, so I can read all of your comments for you, those of you that are actually joining. Right, we're getting somewhere now. It's logged into Windows. Excellent. We're getting there. So yeah, it's been a pretty fun-packed morning this morning. The last thing I thought I was going to do was spend 30 quid having my fucking haircut from a barber's, do you know what I mean? Right, desktop. Here we go, right, Internet Explorer. YouTube. This is so much easier. So much easier. Come on. Fucking hell. Before you continue, cookies, blah, 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 blah. I don't care about cookies. Agree. My keyboard stopped working. Right, just Technics. I've never used this actually for YouTube, so this will be interesting. Right, here we go. I found you. I found you, guys. I found you. I'm not bothered about anything else other than the messages. Come on, load up. Right, here we go. I found you. I found you, guys. I found you. Picture quality is good. This is ridiculous, come on. All about anything else other than messages, come on, load up. Right, here we go. I've found you guys. Picture quality is good. This is insane, hang on. Guys, I'm so sorry about this. Usually this is sorted within seconds. I'm sorry for anyone that's watching this. This is really doing my head in now. So if you're watching this and you're not live when I finish doing this video, make sure you skip it forward about 5 minutes because this is just taking the absolute piss. Right, I'll tell you what we're going to do. This is what we're going to do, peeps. I'm not pissing about with this anymore. Right, I'm going to move this camera and sit on my workbench. It's the other workbench I've got because my computer is literally 2 foot next to me. So give me another second. Hang on. Fuck's sake. Something so easy to do turns into a bloody nightmare. So give me a second. Can everybody still hear me all right, is the first thing. My stand, without breaking my stand would be a good idea. Like that. I've got a little vice thing that I clamp this into, just give me a second. It's absolutely insane. Right, let's try this again. As you can see, guys, cardboard everywhere, turntables everywhere in here. We've got a couple of racks behind me here as well. So let me just load this up exactly the same on my YouTube, on my computer, which I know is going to work because it's a bloody Alienware PC that I bought a little while ago. All right, there we go. That's working. Okay, full screen, exit full screen, pop out chat. Sweet. Right. Okay. Guys, we are here. So who have we got? Who have we got watching? So HZ, I've said hello to. We've got Pete Lynch, Paul Kirtley, Paul Heathcote, Paul Kirtley again. Hope my NK3Ds are not fake. Ha ha ha. Prince Charles, A up. It's Margarita's take it back and back. Lee Swain, I shaved my own hair. I've not been to barbers in 20 years. And this last time I did it was $450. Guys, I tell you, it's silly money at the moment. These guys, I tell you what, the last time I went to one bloke, was trying to get 30 quid out of me to wash and cut my hair. I'm like, really? You're barbers, do you know what I mean? It's like, those are bloody stupid. 30 quid. Craziness. Right, okay. Sitting in as the car park on Tuesday afternoon in Dudley, eating as the smart price sausage roll. Mate, I tell you, you know how to live. That's all I'm going to say. It's not a Greg's one, but you know how to live, don't you? This is my idea of heaven. I spend my universal credit on sausage rolls, the cheap kind with low quality meat. Since you're not reading my semi-trolling comments, I will leave this chat. Nice one. Semi-trolling comments. Well, why would you need to troll in the first place? Do you know what I mean? What's the point? What is the absolute point of trolling? This is here to ask somebody. Yo, tried leaving a comment the other day and it was deleted immediately. What was your comment? Is the question. How you doing, Ev? Good to see you watching, bud. I haven't seen you for a long time. It's actually been a very long time, mate, isn't it? I'll have to pop up and see you at some point and buy loads of vinyl. That's a lovely vinyl. But yeah, depending on what the comment was, well, I mean, I don't actually, I mean, the comments aren't moderated. I mean, unless it's something the YouTube spotted and said no thanks. It's about the fake Technics waffle on about how I got jibbed by an eBay recently. I didn't remove anything, mate, unless it's like it's held by the moderators that do the YouTube channel. I don't know. I mean, obviously I'm the one that does everything. I haven't removed anything. everything tends to stay on there. Unless I physically remove a comment off the page myself, there's no reason why it would be. Let me quickly take the phone off of this stand, because I think it's going to be much easier if I just pop it down here. So I can actually look at the screen at the same time. And we can all, there we go. Yeah, it might not have liked me naming and shaming. It was that could be, it could be that. Unfortunately, it could be that. I mean, I have absolutely no access to any of this. I mean, obviously, I've got my channel that I look at the details. It does ask me sometimes if people want, you know, if I want to remove comments. It's very rare that I do, unless someone's being a nasty piece of crap. Then no, I leave everything on there. If you guys all want to argue and do your own thing, it's entirely up to you. But I don't tend not to get involved with any drama, to be fair. Might not like me. Show me how you do. What's a good loop for pitch layers? I'm not telling you. I'm not telling you. I am not telling you. Live chat, all messages are visible. Here we go. Yeah, I'm not telling you my little secrets, guys. So if you're going to come on and start asking me what lube I use for this, what settings for this, please don't. Because if you, with the greatest of respect, if you do a very similar job to me and you take things apart and you offer them for customers, even if you do it for yourself, you should know. I'm not going to start telling people. If you've got the know-how to take something apart and look at the internals, but you don't know how to do anything else, you shouldn't be taking it apart. That's as simple as that. So please, guys, before I go any further with this, there's not going to be any real in-depth technical bits. Pitch sliders, you wouldn't believe. This industry is so cutthroat that the last thing I'm going to do is telling people what to use. Doesn't want to reveal he's using deoxit. No, that's not actually what I use, but thank you for your comment there, buddy. What he's trying to tell you, meant to be pretty. There was a pretty caustic post airing my agreements on what happened. Right, well, I haven't seen it, mate. I mean, I don't understand who it was or what was going on. House of Jack built. I've got an old Technics 1200 Mark II from 1980 with a cold start. It takes a few seconds to get right speed. After that, push and stop and start gets the platter on speed as it should. Is this fixable or a design flaw in the series? 98 cold start to get on the right speed. Well, it should be pretty instantaneous, mate. I mean, you're gonna have something up there, 100%. Everything's fixable. I've had things that you push start and stop, they move backwards slightly and move forward. You've got to then check the tracks. So no, these things are fixable. Yes. How long did the original Technics Mark II target lamps bulbs last? Jesus, guys, these are all how long is a piece of string? How would I know that? I mean, look, you've got turntables from the early 70s going all the way out to present day, still working perfectly. There was a pair that was in here not long ago that I've recently just had, had to rebuild, and the lights were perfectly fine. And these were the originals from like 74. So it really is how long is a piece of string, unfortunately. Hatch said, I have 4 and all I find still, but where I DJ at a radio station, bulb went after about 11 years. Depends how you've moved them around, how you've treated them. You just don't know, unfortunately, guys. Got ripped off by an eBay, got a refund, ended up getting another pair. Marco 3Ds from a local guy. Did a voltage conversion from 100 to 240. Cool. What, did you change the power supply over, did you? Or did you just buy a step down converter for it? The best way to do it is to change the power supply, so I'm hoping you've done that. Why does this keep beeping? Sorry guys, keep beeping at me, my little tablet. Bloody annoying. Change PSU and cap resistor. Good man, good man. Power supply is a no-brainer. Good man. I hope it wasn't one of those cheap and nasty ones that you can get from Czech Republic, because the ones from Czech Republic, the first batch that they did of them, they they were actually homemade and they were etched. So I actually bought a couple just to see what the quality difference was, because a few people were asking and they're pretty impossible to find. Whether she wants second-hand units, which I don't like giving to people really. So in Australia, we got a guy who sells really good quality PSUs. Good, that's good to hear. It's pretty difficult round in where I'm in the UK. There's a couple of people that offer the external PSUs, and always put the internals outside of the decks as well. But it's trying to find a brand new is the problem. I can never buy from eBay, couldn't do it. Right, so yeah, let's start with this then. So I've gone briefly on these mixers, but with the Technics, there's a lot of people, as obviously you've noticed from the comments on the previous video that I put on there, you know, who've had problems where they've bought these Technics turntables, they've been sold them as M3Ds, been sold them as Mark 5s, as Mark 2s, 1210s, etc., etc., etc. And yeah, unfortunately, they weren't the case. I mean, the two that I popped on, I'll show you what I've done with these actually. I've got one right here. So those really bad ones that I showed you on the video. What's basically happened now is, as you can see, it's been vinyl wrapped. I vinyl wrapped this particular one. This is one of two. These were the Mark 5, or the supposed Mark 5s that you all saw on the last video that I popped on. Now, what I've done on here is I've lightly keyed down and flattened off all of the bodywork on the decks, and I've vinyl wrapped the top, sides, edges. As you can see, it's nigh on perfect. It's in a nice, deep, dark satin grey. Looks fantastic in the flesh. It's got brand new pitch trims, all the internal sides all cleaned off, brand new pitch trims. Inner sections of the pitch trims have been vinyl wrapped and then popped into place. We've then got brand new shader cloths on the rear of the decks as well. So both of these are exactly the same now. The next task will be to clean up the pop-up surrounds and then pop these back into place. Once that's been done, they're going to be adhesive back down, and then start doing the little sections like the head shell socket holder at the top, and then just leave these to one side and start working on the arms. The arms are going to be rewired, and then moving forward, it's then down to starting with the pitch. Now, his pitch controls on his decks, they are actually genuine units. They're not aftermarket units, and they're from M3Ds or Mark 5, one of the two, because they're both exactly the same. M3D and Mark 5 sliders are identical from each other. They're known as a -3 slider unit, and they are original. Can you do the original silver Technics colours? No. No, that is not possible, buddy. You can get close, but you're not going to get them identical. The wraps that I use are not cheap eBay wraps. These are all 3M. I get them directly from 3M. They cost me an absolute fortune. They wrap beautifully. They're 5 to 7 year external guarantees if you're sticking these on a motor. So people put these on Ferraris, Lambos, Porsches, all this sort of stuff. It is good quality. It's the best quality you can buy. There's that and Avery Denison. They're both the brands that I deal with, but 3M is my go-to brand. It is lovely to wrap. The adhesive goes on fantastic. Minimal air bubbles, which is what you want. I mean, I do this and prep them in such a way you don't actually get any air bubbles or any debris underneath. So some of these guys, when they pop these on, they're so cheap and nasty when they've applied them that you see everything underneath. It's not the case with this. And with the air release technology, there really is no excuse as to why you would have a bad wrap, right? And the same thing goes to the graphics too. So the graphics that I use, obviously they're ink-based graphics. They're not screen print. They're ink-based. Now, they're classed as a pre-lacquer. So the idea is if you were having something resprayed, or you were having, let's have a think. Yeah, resprayed or powder coated. Obviously, these original decks were powder coated. Now, the problem that you have is they tend to just buy any old random thing. They get their own design knocked up, something that looks close to Technics graphics, and then the fonts look wrong. They look stretched, and they pop them down, and then you went to have clear cut over the top of them. That's why you get things like neon flips with flake and all this sort of stuff. The problem that you have is obviously with vinyl wrap, it's not worthwhile doing anything like that. These wraps are already pre-coated for it. So in other words, I have a vinyl printer. So I used to offer printing on turntables. So you could literally give me a set of turntables. You could give me these and say, I want them printed with my own design, with the graphics, and I pop that over the top. So I can print this, right? I still can. I can print my own plinths. And then what you have to do to protect everything, to stop any ink wear and tear or any sunlight ruining the ink, you have to print on top, and then you have to get a laminate over the top. So you have either a satin or matte, as a satin, a matte, and a gloss laminate that basically you put over the top using a roller. So once you printed your vinyl, it goes into a roller, either a heated roller or what's called a cold roller, and then you roll it through, and the whole thing comes out either shiny, satin, or matte, depending on what you choose. That way, once you actually put this down on the deck, it's going to be nice and hard wearing. So if you imagine you get people that wrap cars and vans with their sign writing, and it's all in full colour single print, not this horrible vinyl cut rubbish, all actual single print, you'll find that everything that's printed, if it's a good quality print, should always be laminated. Otherwise, the print will come off in the sun, you'll clean it and it'll scratch off. So laminate's really important. And where I'm getting at is these 3M vinyls, the way that they are actually designed, they are already laminated. They make them, they laminate them. So a lot of these designs that you find, if you buy cheaper vinyl, the laminate's usually too thick. And when the laminate's too thick,
you try bending them round, and after a period of time, you start to find that the edges will flake off. If they try bending things underneath and all of that rubbish, they don't actually conform to the areas that they're meant to. So it's very, very hard to work with cheap vinyl. Plus the adhesive on cheaper vinyl is an absolute nightmare. So with 3M, for an example, like I do with these, I wrapped these both yesterday, there's 2 of these. Obviously you saw them before in the video, and you can already see a difference as to how nice this looks without blowing my own trumpet, but you can see how nice this physically looks. And like I say, it's a deep satin grey. It goes so well and it wrapped lovely. But yeah, what you do with these, you have to apply what's called a 3M primer. So primer is a little tub that you have, like it's an adhesive promoter basically. So you pop it around the corners of your decks once you've prepped the bodywork, and that then helps the vinyl adhesive even further. So in other words, if you get some of these wraps where people wrap them round and they have corners where they heat them round and then they leave them, after a few weeks you'll start to notice that they start to lift and they'll conform back into their original shape. So you can't use that, because all that's going to end up happening is anything that's been wrapped will just pick back, and you can pick the areas, and it's just cheap crap. So the 3M promoter enables anything that you wrap. Obviously this isn't bent round, this is cut flush. Everything I do is flush, as you can see. Everything's all using surgical blades, no Stanley, no rubbish, no cheap crap. And once it's bent round, obviously I heat the edge just to make sure the edges all go down perfectly. But the 3M promoter, the primer enhancer that I use, it actually helps with the adhesive to further stick down to the actual unit. But fantastic. But yeah, what I was getting at with the graphics is they're ink-based graphics. You're designed for use pre-lacquer. With vinyl wraps, it's not necessarily, because obviously it's a vinyl wrap. The idea with vinyl wrap is if you don't like the wrap, you can take it off at a later date and change the wrap for something else. And people have done that, and it's really, really popular. But yeah, it's 5 to 7 year outdoor guarantee if you're putting on a car. So think about what they're going to be like on turntables. Right, Will, that is a vinyl wrap, insanely good. Thank you very much, mate. Yes, they are all vinyl wrapped. Everything I do is vinyl wrapped. Over 150 different wraps to choose from. Everything is cut by hand. Nothing is template. This is all done by hand with surgical blades. I use Swan Morton blades, which are basically hospital blades. Sharp as hell. You cut yourself, it'll let you down A&E, and it's true. So, yeah, all done by hand. Everything. You're not going to find any jagged corners. You're not going to find any nasty cuts. You are not going to find any uneven cuts and corners. Everything on these are as good as possible, or it doesn't leave me. It's either you do it properly or you don't do it at all. What else have we got? Yep, in the UK, you're right, Will. Yeah, bargain could be had if you take the risk of buying from Japan, or in my case, you could be messed over a month and get your USB cable sent to you. Ben, hi Jay, got some Mark 5s. What's the best way to calibrate 0 point? Is it different to Mark 2? Well, actually, right, the 0 points themselves are exactly the same. So the difference between a Mark 2 slider unit, for an example, and an M3D or a Mark 5 slider unit is you have to tell the slider where the 0 possession physically is, which is exactly the same. So frequency counter, frequency meter, you have to set it to 262.08. If you have not got this tool, you've got to do it by eye, and you've got to be very, very accurate and do slow movements to get it right. But again, the people that are trying to do this by eye should not be touching them unless you're doing it from home for a bit of fun. But you are going to ruin the original position. So what I'm trying to say is Mark 2s, you have a physical lock. So that green quartz lock that you have, the minute you move it to 0, it locks in place. So when some of these guys decide to try and enhance the speed and they want to make the range slightly bigger or smaller, when you move it away from the green lamp, you'll notice that the minute you move it away, it'll speed up really fast. Okay, or if it's perfectly calibrated, 9 times out of 10, you move it out the green light and it only gradually starts speeding up when you move it away. That's really what you want. Okay, with the M3D and the Mark 5, they both use exactly the same slider unit. So M3D and the MK3D and the Mark 5, not the M5G and the Mark 6. They're a completely different unit. That's Dash 4 unit, which won't calibrate properly in any of the older turntables. But with an M3D, MK3D and Mark 5 slider unit, you set the frequency, you set the value with your potentiometer on the board to the set value that it tells you in the service manual for the Mark 5 and the MK3D. Again, I'm not going to tell you that, because if you know what you're doing, you should be knowing this. But the frequency counter, like I say on the board, 262.08, and that will then set a perfect 0 at the point, because there's continuous around the 0 position on an M3D and a Mark 5. You have to manually tell the deck where to stop. If you don't, if you change the slider over, for an example, and put that inside of an M3D or a Mark 5, and you just put it in and say, I'm going to use it as it is, chances are your 0 is going to be halfway up or further down, because you need to recalibrate the 0 position. So main board, at the top of the board, you've got the pitch adjustment. Literally, if you haven't got the right frequency tool to do it, and you're doing this to sort of redo this at home yourself, then platter off, plastic cover off, platter back on, screwdriver through the thumb hole, move it round so you can still see the pitch adjustment, and keep making minuscule movements with the pitch set at 0 until you get it to just about stop, and then you get it perfect. But you need a frequency counter really to start doing this properly. Anyone that hasn't got this, that offers a service or repair service, you should not touch, because it's very, very important they do. Otherwise, you're going to be getting decks back that aren't perfectly calibrated, and that's beyond ridiculous as far as I'm concerned. I have bought them a few weeks ago. The 2 is a very good cart. The vinyl carts, I've heard a lot of good things about them. There's been some mixed reviews. I mean, I was very tempted to buy a pair actually for the mixers, because I've got a brand new pair of head shells for them here anyway in the boxes. I may very well think about doing this. Might get a pair and just test them out. We'll do it with the mixer, see what the quality is in comparison to the ones that I have at the moment. Decent, unless you want to pay a mint for M447s, they're a good alternative. That's why people have been looking at them. Gilco carts might be quite good. Wasn't 10k away, I'd get you to do it. Any 1210 Mark IIs for sale? If not, how much would I expect to pay? Well, if you're in the UK and you're very lucky, if you find someone on a bad day, you could be looking between 600 and 800 quid for a very bad warm pair if someone really needs the money. Minimum price I've seen them go for second hand, really, if you're looking on places like Gumtree and people need the money, £1,000. But the average price for a pair of Mark IIs now is about £1,300 for a pair of good condition Mark IIs. Mark 5s, well, I sold my Mark 5s not long ago. They were £1,900, worth every penny. They were mine from 2007, 2008. Fantastic turntables. But yeah, I'd say between 13 upwards, depends on the condition, but they're only worth as much as you are willing to pay. Doesn't matter what people put these up for. You'll find that a lot of guys, they try and put the prices up to absolute maximum, and then they keep leaving it, and they're so desperate to sell them after a period of time that if they've got them on eBay, for an example, you'll spot that they just start knocking the price down, or they start offering you a better price through eBay through the best offer feature. So the best thing is just bide your time and wait if you see them on eBay. But there's the questions that you need to ask them about these turntables, like I've said before on the fake video that I popped on. Can you do an Autophon vinyl review? I will. I think I will do it. I'm going to see if I can get hold of a couple, and I will do that. Mark, I have some Sony PSD J9000s. Are they worth having fixed, or would you buy new? Mate, they are so old now. I remember them really, really well. I mean, good decks if you like that, but no. I mean, anything old like that, old Gemini's, PT series, any of that rubbish, old Cam decks, old Newmark, I would personally stick them on eBay. Someone's bound to buy them off you who wants to buy old gear. I mean, look, if I had the room in here, Mark, I probably would have bought them off you, mate, but unfortunately I haven't. And plus I've got the TT2s here at the moment, so... UK is a good place for used ones. Remember then they used to be 795 for a pair. Yeah, well look, I mean I paid brand new for a pair of mine was about it's over 1150, because I mean I had, when I was sold mine, when I first bought mine brand new, it was about 20 years ago, 23 years ago, something like that. Yeah, when I first bought mine brand new, he told me they had M3D sliders, which they didn't. They were Mark II sliders with the ball bearing and spring removed. So I did have a bit of a go at him about that, because I ended up working for the shop that sold them to me. That's even funnier. Will, apparently the MK3Ds are from 98, based on some dodgy serial number checker. I think that's awesome, ha. That the serial decoder website. Oh, when I paid 1600 Australian for 1210 Mark 5 today, mint box and everything, but the pitch is dry because it hasn't been used. Well, again, I mean, yeah, I mean that you've got to take it apart, deep clean it, relubricate, and obviously go through everything. If you're keen on doing that, do it. Otherwise, buy a genuine replacement Mark 5 slider unit. I'm sure if you're lucky, you're going to find somewhere that can do them. They are still readily available, the Mark 5 sliders. They have all been discontinued, but they are still available from certain suppliers. Just make sure that you buy genuine, so you want it all to line up as best as you can. Darren Laidman, yet bought a set for 896. When Mark MK3D are quite collectible, to be honest. I had loads of them. I was importing them from Japan just before COVID all hit, and unfortunately COVID ruined everything. And the suppliers that I was dealing with all went under. One of them was in Wuhan, so I'm not really surprised. Got any SoundLab DLPs for sale? No. No, I fucking haven't. Right, you've got to take the whole potential apart and reloop to get the best result. You need to literally gut that entire slider unit down. Strip the whole thing down, clean out the housing, remove any old grime and goo and old grease, re-grease the housing. You can deoxit the board. Obviously, there is lubricant you can buy. Deoxit do a fantastic lube for the actual carbon track itself. When someone was saying to me, don't want to tell you what I use for the actual lubricant, it's not the deoxit that's the issue. It's the grease that you use on the housing. So many people use lithium grease on the housings. Don't do it. Don't do it. There's better things out there than lithium grease. You want something that's going to be conductive. So if it does droop down, you can imagine if you use the wrong grease or the wrong lube and it's actually on the housing, if you put them back upside down, you're moving that slider up and down, and if you've got a little clump of the wrong grease, the wrong type of specified grease, and it falls down onto the carbon track, what do you think is going to happen when you start moving the stem up and down? It's going to hit the track, and all that's going to happen, you're going to start getting fluctuations in pitch because it's not conductive. It doesn't go all the way through. The stem's not hitting. But yes, I'm not going to go into telling you what you need to use, but if you do use the wrong type, you are going to run into issues. So yeah, definitely deoxit fader lube. That is fantastic stuff for the carbon track. You don't need much, couple of tiny little drops. Get your little finger with a little vinyl glove and rub it over the top. You'll find that will keep you going. The best thing to do with that is obviously to use that, and then it gets rid of any scratchiness. A lot of guys that I see that rebuild sliders, they don't use any lubricant at all on the board, and usually when they rebuild and move them up and down, all you feel is it etching into the actual carbon track, and that is not good. That is not good at all. Mark 5s versus Mark 2s difference. Well, apart from cosmetically with the reset switch, the fact that you have the quartz lock bypassed completely because there is no quartz lock on the 0 position. It is continuous throughout the entire range. It's obviously going to be calibrated to a different specification. The 0 point is exactly the same on the deck. There's 2 different frequencies that you set them at between an older Mark II and a Mark V and M3D, depending on the age difference, but they are set to one value, the Mark V and the M3D. You may find the wiring is slightly different in the internals. The wiring for the cables may be slightly different as well. Components will obviously be newer in a Mark V. Switches will be a different size. Anti-skate will be a completely different adjuster, but they're exactly the same but with different writing. You'll have a physical plastic brake underneath, a cap cover on the brake adjuster, which is different to the original pot on the board. The board will look slightly different with slightly different newer components, but there are various components on the board that may need to be changed, which are accessible to different issues. But yeah, there's so many things, guys, you need to be very careful of. But on a nutshell, yeah, there are differences. But the main boards themselves, the way that they mix, apart from the fact that the slider is calibrated to a different specification, and the fact there isn't a dead spot within that, you're good to go. What's that? Not lithium-based synthetic. Well, I don't use that deck yet. I'm not going to use it dry either. I will have to work it out. Yeah, I just bought some PSUs and installed them. Great stuff. Turn them off to Graham if you're concerned, or this guy in the UK. That's all well and good, but I'm fully booked up until June anyway. So if you did want me to do anything and you are based in the UK, I can't fit anything in until June. So I get through between 2 and 3 pairs every week. That's on top of all the little jobs that I do from cable replacements through to pitch control changeovers to tone arm sections that are broken that I 3D print, all sorts. They are all... That's great, but I'd go for M3D or Mark 5s for mixing over a Mark II. They're all, look, it's personal preference. I mean, I had Mark 2s from new, I've had a pair of Mark 5s from new, I've had M3Ds from new. I mean, again, it's all personal preference what you want. Why are all new decks digital pitch? Surely that's the market for analog. Look, the sliders themselves are analog. I've said this so many times before. The sliders themselves are analog. It's the way that the pitch is controlled, digitally controlled. You usually find that the M5G, for an example, has a separate board that it attaches to, and then attaches to another board that has another chip array that also has another quartz oscillator crystal that controls the secondary speed. So it's the way they're controlled with digital stepping, and that's why people don't get on with the digital pitch. But the actual sliders themselves are analog. You could fit any pitch in any of the older models, just they all react differently. So you won't be able to put an M5G slider, for an example, in a Mark II without losing probably 3/4 of your range. I mean, it's as simple as that, and vice versa with the Mark II and an M5G. So it's this, unfortunately, it's a money thing. It's a money thing, guys. It's easy to mass produce. That's why all these super OEM decks, for an example, they're all made in the same factory. Super OEM decks, all made by Hampim. And the majority of them, people buy different brands because they feel that they go for a brand like Pioneer, that you're going to get the best of the best. But in reality, you could buy a brand by Epsilon for 150 quid, and you've got exactly the same internals as what you've got on the Pioneer. It's just a cheaper looking deck that no one wants. But in reality, they both perform exactly the same in terms of pitch, arm, and platter movement speed. It is exactly the same. What's your thoughts on removing the little ball bearing on the pitch in Mark II to screw up the quartz lock? I mean, I'd only really recommend doing that on brand new units. Older units, you've got to imagine they've been inside a deck since the early 90s. I mean, look, we're in 2022 now, guys. Since the early 90s, 22 years. It's very, very, very old now. If you've got old movement in slide, especially particularly around the lock, the ball bearing, all that, look, the lock is still there. The physical lock is still there. As long as you calibrate it correctly, you'll be good. But I'd highly recommend doing that on a new slider unit and not on a second hand or an older unit, purely for the fact of it is old, and you are best off really by now replacing them. So I really wouldn't recommend it on an older unit. Some people are going to differ about that, but that's me. I mean, I prefer having the click on everything. I even put a pair of Mark II slider units in my Mark Vs. I mean, that's just how I was. I like having the physical click. I like having the reset button, but also having the lock. Just a handy thing to have. Everybody's different though. Darren Labour, never had a problem mixing on Mark II, just wondering how compared to Mark Vs. You'll be fine. You'll be fine, mate. I've used everything. What are your thoughts on the Mark 7? Absolutely hate it. I hate the Mark 7. In terms of mixing, I do not like it at all. There's been so many people. This is the thing about the internet. There's been, I've seen my posts fly around everywhere, from Facebook to forum posts, pages, etc. And so many people are quick to judge and quick to argue. I was on a random forum page about 2 weeks ago, just looking through things. As you do, I do all sorts to look at things. And someone was saying on there apparently that I'm a complete clown and that I'm paid or sponsored by Panasonic. If I was sponsored and paid by Panasonic, why would I be saying the Mark 7s aren't very good? Because surely that would be going against them and they wouldn't want to send anything to me. Now, truth be told, I ruffled a few feathers when this actually all happened, because I am the first guy in the UK. I am the guy that actually, nice one, Will. I am the guy in the UK, the first guy that found the issues with these Mark 7s with regards to dead spots on pitch and about the platter movement, etc. I am the guy that did it. And I put the video on. And the amount of people that were like, what a load of rubbish. But you don't see the bigger picture of what happens. There were so many things that happened in the background. The amount of times that I actually physically contacted Panasonic, spoke to Technics support, spoke to Technical, spoke to their dealer guys in Malaysia, spoke to their service guys in Japan, backwards and forwards, blame being put everywhere, telling me that they're designed like that, telling me if you want the extended range, go on to plus or minus 16 when you're missing a bit of range. It's not sold to spec. If you've got a physical spot in that slider that doesn't do anything, that's not good enough. If you, just because they tell you to switch it over to plus or minus 16 to get the plus or minus between 7 and 8, it's not good enough. You've still got that little bit of movement. I've had everything from people saying to me, well, who the hell mixes at that speed up that high anyway? Look, it's irrelevant. You pay for a turntable that before you switch it, you've got plus or minus 8 fully without having that little dead spot on either end. You also spend a fortune on these turntables, so why should you have to put up with having what I call a washing machine platter? So machining of the platter, 1 minute you've got it level, the dots will be going up and down. Then you've got wound and flatter that makes them go left to right. So you've got left to right and up and down, it's going to turn into a washing machine. So when you look at it on the strobe dot, on the models that I had here, that I did the reviews on and took apart, obviously they move around like a washing machine. Now, not everybody's got that problem, and not everybody has the problems that I highlighted with the pitch. But quite conveniently, after I did my second review on the Mark 7s back in October, I'd like to say, of not last year, the year before. So yeah, 2021, I bought my second unit, and I did another review because everyone kept asking me. But unfortunately, no, it was exactly the same. But then after I sold that unit, everywhere was out of stock. You couldn't buy them anywhere. They were out of stock for about a month. And then all of in the UK, and then all of a sudden they were back in stock again. And then people were watching my videos on YouTube and then commenting saying, Jay, what the hell are you on about? There is no issues with the pitch on these. And they were sending me videos through WhatsApp. And then I was looking at the videos going, this is a bit random. Then I found out that people were buying the newer versions after the set date, after they went out of stock. They'd revised the issues and repaired the issues that we were talking about with the pitch, and now there are no dead spots. So people that have the Red Bull edition turntables, I spoke to Scratch Bastard about this because I was speaking to him on Instagram about his ones. And I said, have you got dead spots? And he looked at it and sent me a video. Answer is no, he has not got dead spots. Anyone that has 1200 Mark 7s, they don't have dead spots. So it's crazy, but if you're buying an old pair of GRs, they do have the dead spots. So there is no guaranteed easy answer as to why they've done it, other than the fact that they've lied to people and told everybody that they were designed like this. They probably were designed like that, but I said something, everybody else must have jumped the gun, and pow, next thing you know, out of stock, obviously repair issue, and they've sorted it. But my argument was very, very simple. If you've got a young kid who's using a controller and wants to buy a couple of turntables and decides to go for Technics because he's watched all the videos and knows that Technics are the ones that everyone used to see, then they're going to go out and buy one. Then they're going to go out and buy another one when they can afford to buy another one. It's a lot of money, 800-900 quid's a lot of money. So they're going to buy one turntable that's got the issue, without them knowing in that date. Probably take a year getting another one, buy another one after the issue of them all being out of stock, and pow, that hasn't got the issue. So you've got one deck that has got the dead spot and the other deck that has got the dead spot. So what? I argued this with Panasonic and said, so you're okay with people going out and buying one deck from one year and one deck from another year, one having the problem, one not having the problem, and you're not going to solve it? Couldn't answer me. Excuse me. They couldn't answer me. They wouldn't answer it neither. And it's absolutely pathetic that they would do that. Now, the same thing goes with GRs. Now, look, I did a review on the GR, and again, it's just so funny. I had people watching the video review that I did against the belt drive turntable. It was a dual turntable that I gave away as a Christmas competition winner, again, a couple of years ago, and that was against the GR turntable that one of my customers, Andy Huggy Bear Peters, massive thanks to Andy, brought down here just during lockdown for me to have a look at, and I ended up buying a pair of 1200 GRs as well. Brand new, again, to do some review bits on. Again, they're good turntables, and look, in comparison to the Mark 7, I would go all day with the GR for the fact that the build quality is ridiculously better. I mean, look, the Mark 7, I class that as the poor man's GR, because obviously there's a big jump in price between the two decks. But there are things that you need to do to calibrate your brain when mixing on these turntables. The GRs, for an example, you will need to move the torque down on the GR. You find that the lower the torque, the easier it is to manipulate the platter, but you'll find the startup is a lot slower. But with the plastic sheet underneath the platter, that does help, but you will still need to adapt with the pitch. The biggest gripe that I found with the GRs is, even with any of these newer turntables, is if you're used to being hands-on and riding the pitch with all of these decks, you will pretty much adapt pretty easily, I would say. But if you're like me and you are used to pinching the spindle and touching the platter as well as moving the decks, they don't react the same as what the older Mark II, MK3D, Mark V, etc., don't react exactly the same. So unfortunately, if you are, this is where a lot of DJs are struggling with all of these newer technology decks, even with the straight 150s, the Stantons. I mean, again, someone's mentioned Stantons on here as well. They're all made in the same factory, guys. The GR and the Mark 7 obviously isn't. The Denon VL12 isn't. The NTX 1000 by Newmark is another variation of that. That one also isn't. But again, everyone's got their own pros and cons. But my argument is you can buy a deck from the early 2000s now that will run better and perform better in terms of beat mixing than what modern turntables do 22 years later. And that is the biggest problem that we have. Now, my aim was to pretty much go through all of these turntables and find one that does what we all want them to do. And the main priority that I have, especially because I mix trance, hard dance, techno, I want something that I can put a needle on a record, hit start and stop, cue my record up, and the minute I move that pitch with those little movements, I want it to move the same, if not similar, to what a Technics, an older Technics would react, or even the older units that we've all used over the last 20 years. Just something that locks perfectly with no drift. Now, I can imagine there's going to be people now saying, there's nothing wrong with GRs and they mix perfectly, but they are hard work to mix on. But then part of the fun, I suppose, which is why I like using some of these digital control decks, is that they are harder to use to mix with. You do have to get your head around them. You've got to be more hands-on. The thing is, you get too comfortable. It's like using a pair of CDJs. When you first use CDJs and you've only ever used turntables, I can guarantee everyone that used them now probably felt really like they were really alien, moving the sides of the platter around, trying to pitch bend, keeping things in time with the digitally controlled pitch. But then they got it, it's pretty good. You just adapt to what you use, and every variation of their CDJs all pretty much have stepped exactly the same, whether it's a controller unit or a USB all-in-one unit. So you have to adapt to that. But everybody, I can guarantee everyone that's used them, no one just jumped straight on them and went from turntables and went, oh my God, fantastic. I mean, I hated them when I first used them. I was pretty much vinyl only for the best part of, 10 years when I first started. I mean, I've been playing 24 years nearly, I think 24 years. But when I first started, I was literally near enough 10 years just on vinyl, and I refused to touch anything with, CDJs or anything like that, because controllers didn't really exist. Vinyl Scratch did, and M-Audio's version of Talks did. But no, it was pretty much vinyl only. So that's what I did. But I wouldn't use CDJs. I wouldn't use CDJ 100s. I wouldn't use any of the Newmark ones. And I bought a cheap set of Axis 8s, Newmark Axis 8s when they came out. They were phenomenal. One of the first ones that had the actual scratch playback on an individual tabletop unit. And they were great. Then before you know it, you're starting to use them more, and then your turntables get put to the side, then your CDJs go in between your mixer and your turntables are there, and you end up using something else, and it just goes, it's the way things go. But adapting to pitch on these modern sliders, it is hard work. And I don't care what anybody says about how fantastically accurate they are. Guys, they're really not. They just move quicker because the motors are stronger, because of the way things are, because of the way things are this day and age. They're just concentrating on everything other than the pitch. Decks on the outside, get the... Yeah, you know where I'm coming from. Look, the Axis 8s are about that wide, and they were fantastic. So I didn't really want to be reaching on the other sides of decks. It's like it used to be a case of all of the tracks, before people started getting into Tractor, for an example, and Serato, it was just purely CDs. And if you were asked to record a mix and you only had all your older tracks on vinyl, it's all well and good because you love all your old gear. But if someone needed a newer mix and you've already given them 2 or 3 mixes, or in my case hundreds, because I had thousands, I've got 4,000 records now, but I got rid of loads. And the fact is, if you run out of all your vinyls that you do, and you've played all your B-sides, you've played everything you've got and given them to these people, then you need to go for digital, because unless you're going to start spending hundreds of pounds on records, which they are not cheap anymore, they are expensive for some of the bits that you want, then downloading and sticking on CDs, back in my day, was like LimeWire with Napster, etc. So I used to download them, you do them on there. Then obviously Spotify, Beatport, Track It Down was a classic one that I used to use, especially for techno. And hard groove. So yeah, it was really good for that. So you start paying a lot cheaper, a lot less now originally than before. So CDs were the way to go, unfortunately. Then everyone started pushing out turntables from gigs, and you all just turned to CDJs. And it is, I mean, look, there's nothing wrong with them. CDJs are good. I mean, I used to use CDJs. I had 4 CDJ 1000 Mark IIIs, old school way of doing it. I used to love it. All used to be ran through Tractor Tractor Scratch. Absolutely awesome. I love them. But you're not going back to what you started, don't you? But yeah, having to adapt to these sliders is very, very hard at first. And trust me, you'll be sitting there for a while until you get them right. But it is more fun because it's almost like you're going back to school, learning on something that you've never used before. And it's crazy. What have we got? Never used the GR, not a DJ deck. You'll pick up bad habits from them. Now, yeah, I mean, I have used them. Like I said, I've had 3 of the buggers here, and I didn't get on with them. I mean, I've tried everything and couldn't get on with them. I found that the minute you manipulate that platter, it just doesn't want to play ball, and I did not like them at all. But build quality wise, if they had put the Mark 7 in that deck, if they put the Mark 7 internals inside that GR and modelled that on that turntable and lowered the price a bit, I think less people would have moaned. Or even if they had put the Mark 7 down to a 500 quid each, people wouldn't have moaned. It's just unfortunate on how they are. But people that use vinyl now, like us, let's be realistic. If you're going to be asked to play somewhere, and like me, I've got a bike license, I don't drive a car, so I can't just go taking turntables and sticking them in a boot and taking them somewhere. I have to rely on what somebody else has got, like a lot of DJs do. You're not going to turn up to a festival like I do, for an example. You're going to find out what they've got there, but if they don't know what turntables they've got and they tell you they've got turntables, for all you know, they can have some cheap and nasty rubbish thing there, and CDJs are their priority over Nexus mixer. You just don't know. So you have to rely on what your tools and what you've got. If it's going to make you look like a bad DJ, are you going to turn up and still rock the old school stuff, not knowing what condition it is in when you turn up, or what turntables they are? It's very, very difficult. So CDJs, USB and controllers and phase as well are all the more modern alternatives now. And that's why things are how things they are today. And I can see why. But the amount of club turntables, I mean, my missus, one of my ex-misses at the time as well, has got pictures of me in tents in festivals as well as in clubs, etc., where I've been playing on turntables. The pitch doesn't react right. I used to carry around the butane soldering iron kit with me in my record bag, screwdriver, little miniature screwdriver set, and a multimeter that could read frequency. And I literally used to have to recalibrate things mid-mix. Someone would be on that turntable, I'd put the deck on, put my first track on, and I'd be quickly whapping the platter off, recalibrating 0 points, taking bases and things off. It's ridiculous, some of the things that I've had to deal with. Bad cables, I had to remove cables, mid-set for somebody in a club before as well. I'm on the middle of playing something, and every time you moved and the bass hit and the feedback hit the turntable, you knocked the cable connector and the bloody cable, the audio was coming loose. I had to remove and change a cable over. So yeah, I was to be very much on the ball with that. But it got to a point where people were booking me to play, and because they knew that I don't use rubbish and I have to use something that works. So they used to book me to do it, and I'd turn up and repair their turntables because I don't like playing on crap. But it used to backfire on them. Because what I used to do was, at the end of the night where they think they've got freebies, I used to turn them upside down and desolder and remove anything I put on and go, there you go. And they go, oh, no. I go, yes, you're not paid for it, mate. You didn't tell me that. And you know, there's a problem. You're going to pay me for it? I'll put it back in. I'm not a pushover sort of thing. But yeah, it's very difficult to know what you're using. Some people use 45 adapters as ashtrays. You know, people put pints on the middle of them, wine glasses on them. Someone said to me yesterday, another guy who came in here, wine glasses on decks and stuff. It's crazy. It is crazy what people do with these. You can see on my channel I did 2 mixes on GRs. Okay, that's good. I mean, it's each to their own. Like I said, Dave, I mean, they are harder to mix on. They are definitely harder to mix on. But it's good fun to learn how to mix on. Yeah, it's crazy how they let it slip through quality control. Dude, I'm so sad everyone's using plastic Pioneer shit, USB controllers. Well, this is one of the reasons why I stopped working for DJ shops, actually. Because my background was working in DJ shops. Just do a lot of reviews and things online, for those that know this. And it went from kids going in with their dads, etc., with their parents, wanting to go and buy a set of turntables, you know, belt drive, then direct drive, and then going up to the almighty, your Omegas. Whereas now, you get someone walk in and go, you're the guy with the green hair, because I said green hair at one point. Go, you're the guy with the green hair in the videos. Do you have the Numark Mixtrack Pro 2 in stock? Can you scratch on it? And does it have a sync button? There's always the constant 2 questions that we used to have, and I used to get. So it used to be me walking over, unplugging this unit, plug it into another Mac or Windows PC within 30 seconds, plug it in with Serato DJ Intro, the free version that came with it, load up an R and Fresh sample or a combo sample, scratch on the controller for them, show how the sync button works, and all you used to get was the little kid looking at their mum and dad on that big smile on his face, looking around, and the parents looking at me like, yeah, cheers, Jay. You know, you just maybe spend a couple of £100. But that's how things are. And unfortunately, things have become easier to use now. DJing is not an art form like it used to be. It's an easy thing that just about anybody can do. And I don't care what people say. Turntables, yes, it is an art form. Using your ears and keeping things mixed and locked is an art form, and it is not easy, and it takes years and years and years of practice to get round. Sync button, no go. Sync button is only any good if you're going to do multiple tracks together and you're going to start doing your own bootlegs. The only time I would ever use sync buttons, personally, if I was using anything like this, is to do on-the-fly bootlegs with acapellas. But if you need more than two turntables, but you've only got two there, so you can have another output going from your audio interface going into a third or a fourth channel, for an example, on your mixer, and you know it's running an audio out, and you can then loop that. Sync that to what you're currently playing, if that makes sense. So that's the only time I would ever use that. Now, I used to do on the fly mixing like this with acapellas, instrumentals, along with two other things. I used to play on 2, 3, 4 decks. It's just how I used to do things. I used to prefer doing the hard work and getting out of that what you're doing. Sometimes it goes right, sometimes it turns into a train wreck, but it's all part of the fun of what it is. So you make the most of what you've got. Someone could have a really bad 2-channel controller and mix better than anybody else because obviously they lock perfectly. I mean, you've got sync buttons, and if you don't use sync buttons, you can look at the BPMs, the fluctuations. It's crazy what you can do with this stuff now. And like I say, it's not an art form anymore with people using this. It's all to do with them juggling loops down, throwing over 1 million effects. And the common argument is that's not DJing. But the truth is with it, it is now. That is DJing. We don't like, us vinyl boys don't like it. We don't like hearing it. But that is DJing now. DJing to us is 2 decks, 3 decks, 4 decks, and a big mixer, 12-inch mixer, loads of vinyl, running through running through timecode if we want to, running through Tractor, running through Serato. If we want to use digital, we use that, or run it through Phase. That's brilliant as well. And mixing the old school way, not going over the top with filter, not going over the top with the effects, slamming tracks in, keeping things locked. That's what we love. Unfortunately now, DJing is not that anymore. DJing now is sync buttons, moving things up, loops, hot cues, hot loops, stutter, roll, ridiculous amounts of filter, ridiculous amounts of effects, chopping in different tracks. That is not what we are used to, but that is DJing. So for those of us out there, or those other people out there that watch this, that state that using a controller and using CDJs or anything like that is not proper DJing, I'm sorry, but that's not the case anymore. We, as far as I'm concerned, those that watch us on here that play vinyl and still rock Technics or any turntable, we still do it the old school way. We are old school. That's what I call it, old school. We prefer to use our ears to lock beats. That's it. We like the fact that things go in and out of time. We like the fact that we keep things drifting and getting them back in. The way our technology's moved so far forward now, that isn't their issue anymore. Suppliers don't care. Manufacturers don't care about that. Every turntable that you see being sold now they're all aimed at turntablists. So yes, I scratch. I learned to scratch before I could mix. That's one of the reasons why I got into DJing. I love the whole fact of scratching. I used to love the whole backwards and forwards. I love all of that stuff. I used to love watching it, and I wanted to do it, and that's what got me into DJing. That, and I didn't have any friends, right? I just wanted to crack on and do something different. That's what I did. I started scratching and got into mixing. And so it's taken another turn now. A controller, no matter what you spend, whether you pay £200, £100, £400, £1,000, £2,000, whether it's a standalone unit, whether it's something that you have to connect to the computer, whatever you do, it's all got the same features. They all have the same effects. They all run off the same programs, whether it's Record Box, Serato, or Tractor. They all run off the same software, all have hot cues, all have loops, all now have backlit RGB buttons. And if they don't have backlit RGB buttons, they have buttons that are backlit, right? Oh my God, it's a blue button. Well, who cares? You put the second sample on the second pad, and you know your R's on the first one and your fresh samples on the second. Hasn't got to be color coded, which makes it easy to see, right? That's that. So we've got that. Headphone cueing's always the same. Filters are always the same. Effects are always the same now. Pitch is always the same. Jog wheels always slightly differ. Some people put motorised bits in, like Pioneer have done, like Tractor did, etc. Except Native Instruments, Newmark with the NS7, all that sort of stuff. But look, the rain controller. But look, at the end of the day, when you look at everything they actually do, and you look at what us as DJs actually want to use, being vinyl boys, take all of the guff away, as I call it, the guff away, and just pick the bare minimum of what we use. So in our case, pitch, cue and play. Stutter play is always handy, but cue, stutter play, stop, that's it. You know, speed selection, you don't need that with controller, do you? It's just they make things too complicated, and this is what I'm saying. With turntables, all I tend to focus on now is high torque motor, which is all well and good if you want instant start and stop, but when you're mixing, if you're used to, that's only my alarms there, sorry guys, if you're used to using mixing on Technics, for an example, you want a lower torque, you've got to set it down to a low torque. A lot of these turntables don't allow you to obviously change this. So you've got no torque setting on a lot of turntables. Reloop allow you to do this, which is why I like Reloop, and why everyone keeps saying to me, why do you prefer Reloop over the rest when they're exactly the same? Well, look, that's why I prefer Reloop, because Reloop have adjustability on the torque. That's that. RP8000s, wicked, exactly the same as the 7000. Exactly the same, apart from the MIDI functionality. You've got a BPM readout if you do it through the computer as well, but you also have the pitch readout too. They're cracking turntables. So anyone out there wants to go for a set of reloops, the 8000 Mark II and the 7000s are both fantastic. As far as I'm concerned, brilliant turntables. Twitchy pitch, they are hard to get around, and you've got to adapt. Again, it's about that word, adapting to something you're not used to doing. It's about adapting. So once you are in the mix of them and you get to grips with them, you're okay. But you're never going to get it to a point where they lock as well, and for as far as well, it's locking for as long as what you're used to on a set of Technics, older Technics even. So this is the issue that people have. Denon hit the nail on the head with their turntable, but they skimped on the arm. And obviously there's 3 big dead spots on the pitch. Doesn't help at all. But the turntable itself is good, and I mean, no matter what anybody tells you about the pitch on them, I had no issues whatsoever mixing on them, because the way that the platter reacted to your fingers when you touched the platter to slow and speed it up, it was one of the nicest turntables I'd ever used in modern turntable form. So that was my little output with that. But yeah, Mark 7s, I don't hate them, but they've overhyped them. They saw that the GR that everyone wanted the turntables back for DJ use, and just turned around and said, we'll bring a Mark 7 out, made it cheap as chips, throwing the build quality nowhere near as good as the GR. Everyone started buying them, people started finding faults with them, and now all of a sudden, we are where we are again. Denon used to be really good, but the thing is, everyone used to be good back in the day. It's not just Denon, Ren. I mean, you know, we've got Denon used to be really high quality. Their gear was even higher quality many years ago, because everyone was out. Everybody back in the day, when vinyl was the big thing, were all trying to outdo each other. Everyone was fighting against each other. Look at Newmark, look at Gemini. Gemini now is cheap rubbish, but back in the day when Gemini was out, their mixers were fantastic. They were bloody fantastic. Denon had one. Yes, David, Denon actually had a DJP or whatever it was, 120 I think it was. But again, their gear, DNS 3500s, Denon CD players, DNS 5000s, 3700s, all that stuff, excellent. Everyone was out fighting against each other. So Denon, Newmark, Gemini, even Cam, Omnitronics, Citronic, all back in the early 90s, all of these guys were big players in their own areas. You go and buy a mixer, you'd be in a shop for hours trying to find what you want. Even Behringer. Look at what Behringer used to be like. Their production gear is good now, I must admit, but their DJ mixers, DX1000, the DX633 or 626, I think it was, the DX100, you know, all of the old school stuff, wicked, absolutely wicked, until they started trying to get on the same level and copy everybody else. So what they basically did was they copied the DJX series with the DJM. So they copied the DJM 600 and 500, copied that series of mixers. There was the Knox range of mixers, which were pretty much like the, what was it? They were like the Allen and Heath. But they weren't too bad, but the pots felt horrific with their Infidium sliders. But they all just try outdoing everybody, whereas now they don't really care. They bring any old thing out. I remember when Gemini first released their CDJs, and they actually called them CDJs on the lettering for them. I think they were CDJ9s or something. And I actually said to the rep in the UK at the NEC, I said, so you just basically ripped it looked identical to a CDJ, a 900. So you called it a CDJ. The button assembly practically looks like a CDJ, and you've called it a CDJ, and you've just copied the way they look. I said, can't you do anything original? Do it off your own back. You didn't like that. Not surprised, but it's true. You know, I've had so many arguments with people. Blue Citronics, wicked turntables. Everyone used to hate those Behringers, saying the weirdest shit happened to them. Had one of them. I had one for a bit. It was DDM 4000. Build quality wasn't great, but not nearly as bad as some. DDM 4000 was a fantastic mixer. I don't care what people say about that. It was basically a more beefed up version of the DJX 900, but it was a more beefed up version with digitally controlled effects that you could run through an old computer with an old version of Tractor LE, because I used to sell them. They were really good. They were good units, and they used to go wrong. They all go wrong, but they were in their heyday. They were a very capable mixer. Very confusing effects from what I remember back in the day. But everyone has their own preference on what they like. Gemini PS626, wicked. I had one with a 12-second sampler. That was one of my first new mixers, actually. Yeah, second-hand mixer, not new, sorry. That was a good mixer. I had one, though. Gemini mixer, Gemini, first one, Gemini. Everyone's saying the same thing. Yeah. PD2 turntables, wicked. DJing 500 rip-offs were so bad. Yes, they were. They used to go wrong all the time. Now, we used to get B-stock pallets in direct from Behringer. So if you imagine you bought something that was faulty, they get them sent back from the supplier, the retailer that bought them from. We used to buy them in faulty as X-trade display, right? Don't ever trust anything that's B-stock. Don't trust it. If someone says it's X-trade display, trust me, it's not trade display. It's someone's crap that they've bought in and they're cleaning up to sell. Behringer especially, right? So with Behringer gear, we used to get pallets of the gear in. Now Muggins over here used to have to stand there by a rack. We used to get stacks and stacks of these mixers. DJX 700 was the classic, that and the 750, because we used to get them, unbox them, stick them on a rack, not in a rack, stick them on a rack, right? Plug connections into them, check all the features to make sure that the line inputs were working and that a turntable phono input was working. They either used to have effects that wouldn't work, but didn't really anyway, did they? Right? Effects that didn't really do anything, but they didn't work. Buttons that wouldn't work. Crossfaders that would go. There used to be a nasty issue where a resistor would go near the crossfader and you have no fader. Then the channel faders would go. Curve levels were ridiculous on them. VU meters that weren't showing up correctly. LEDs blowing on the LEDs, just not working. Crackly pots, which was very common. Loose pots, broken pots. Oh yeah, and the other classic with Behringer with the lower quality bits was the pots being at 12 o'clock and actually having them at a slight angle, so you'd have it at 12 and it'd click, but it'd be like that or like that, so it wouldn't set dead on 12 o'clock. But we used to, don't trust anything Behringer B-stock. Christ, I mean, you're gonna, world of pain, peeps, if you do that. I had a Behringer 3 channel, I know the one you're talking about. Like how you ripped the paint off them in the EQ. They're all crap. I mean, look, the old school trick we used to do, if you had areas on like an aluminium sheet where graphics are printed on the top and you wanted to get rid of that without scratching underneath, we used to get sugar and we used to literally just dab bits of sugar on it and very lightly coat over the top. So many guys used to get lower ends of sandpaper, very similar to what I'm saying. It sounds ridiculous. We used to get sugar and put them over the top of plates and go over the top just to get rid of set areas on them. And it actually works. It still works, right? I don't know what's like with the new bits now, but older equipment, brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. My 1210s are very little consumer mixers to choose from, except Gemini. I hated mine. Yeah, I mean, look, back in the day, you'd buy DJ Mag, and in the middle of DJ Mag or near the end of it, you'd have pages and pages of new equipment for DJs. Now, there's bugger all. Turntables, you're lucky to get one page. I've seen some second-hand DJs. I'm horrified to how they look and how they've been treated, but they've been through the wars. Been through the wars, guys, a lot of these old mixers. It's just cheaper not to buy them. You buy a cheap DJM and you go, oh my God, look at the state of it, but it needs this, and this. Sliders are cheap. You know, they're not very expensive. But if it needs more than sliders, you've got to start thinking, is it really worth your time buying it? Probably not, unless you're buying it for an ornament. Thoughts on the new CDJs having with no CD function? Yeah, well, it's compact disc jockey. It's not really aimed at CDs anymore now, guys. I mean, they called them CDJs for years. I argued that as well, saying they're called CDJs and don't play CDs. Everyone sort of jumped on that. They don't call it CDJing, do they? So that's how they got away with it. Again, I can see why. I mean, we're all pretty much guilty of this when you go to play at an event. Do we take CDs anymore? I used to take CDs as a backup. It used to be vinyl and CDs as a backup. Now it's CDs as a backup and USBs, my SanDisk USB sticks as my main, unless I'm playing vinyl. So we're all guilty of that, but we can't all complain about the fact that they don't play CDs. CDs are dated technology now, guys. They've been out for fucking years. It's dated technology. So I'm not surprised it's gone the way it has now. Newmark for me, yeah, very popular. Newmark was great. I used to love all their old mixers, CD decks, the whole lot. D stock, B stock, guys, not D stock. D stock would be broken completely. B stock crap anyway. B stock and C stock. There is at the end of the day, you've got great condition, good condition, rubbish condition. This whole B stock, A stock, and all this. Look, you want to look and go on a website and go, this is in great condition. This is in bad condition. This is in poor condition. Do you know what I mean? That's all you want to see. You don't want to be ripped off and told that something comes from a trade show or something's been used as X display. None of them have. Nothing does. There's no, look, it's like people that try and sell you X display Technics turntables, right? So let's say, for example, not Mark 7s and GRs. I'm sure some retail stores out there do have them on display, but it's highly doubtful really because of the cost of them now. But when you've got people that try and say to you, Mark II, M3D, MK3D, Mark 5s, you know, boxed, here we go, X display. Really? What? A pair of them were out X display. A pair of them were B stock. Rubbish. What dates are they? Early 90s. Rubbish. They have not been, yeah, one careful lady owner has done 40,000 miles. Rubbish. Don't believe any of this crap that people tell you. So many things you need to look out for. It's not just with Technics. It's the same with everything you buy. Look at me with bikes. If you follow my Facebook page and you see the amount of things that I've bought over the years, and bikes, etc., that I've bought, and the amount of people that have lied to me about what they've done to things, and shops that have lied, it's crazy. It is every single supplier that you deal with lie. Hi Jay, did you ever use any of the Vestax? I owned 2 pairs of PDX 2000s. I had PDA 1s. I had PDT 5000s with the VU meters. Quite a few Vestax. Look, Vestax were I don't care what people say, they were the main competitor, or I like to think they were the main competitor to Technics. Basically, you had Vestax PDX 2000s or you had Technics. That was it. So Vestax scratch DJs really went towards them. You didn't really get many people go in there, you know, and go for a set of Vestax purely to mix on. It was more Vestax if you wanted something a bit different. But Vestax were good. Unfortunately, it went bankrupt. I mean, I say unfortunately, they were good, but got to a point you couldn't get any parts and things were going wrong and people owned them and messaged me all the time wanting to get things done. I just don't touch them. You can't buy parts from them. You get a channel slide, you get a pitch slider go now on a Vestax turntable, it's game over. It really is. Okay, is what I'm still using. Darren, one lady driver. Many of have seen one Technics on display and it was a gold. There you go. Gold. Anything that's, but look, even now, if they're on display now, especially in the UK, if people are, you know, if they're brave enough to put it on display, it's crazy. Someone could walk in and nick it. I mean, Essex, people are going to nick it. You know, you've got to be so careful. People walk in and stick it out underneath their jacket. Do you know what I mean? You're not going to have people putting it out on display. If they've got gold Technics now, with the amount of money that they're worth, they're going to be taken in, they're going to be cleaned, put in clear bags, stuck in a box, sealed up, or a sticker on the side of it with their serial number that they can scan and then tally it up with the computer. And when someone buys it, it goes straight back on the shelf. It goes back onto the van. That's what you do. And that's what I'd do. I would not have that out on display. Any pucker condition Technics would not be out on display, or at least bagged up. Ordered some auto some metal polish for platter dots today. Thanks. No worries. No worries. Let me know how you get on. Leo, I'm still playing on a Rodeck mixer. Nice. I bought in 92. 4 channels with EQ. That is all it has to be. Never had any problems. They're wicked mixers, Rodeck. Did a couple of scratch mixers as well, didn't they? David, laughing at Kawasaki, Yamaha, Suzuki, Honda rubbish. Right. We're not going to get into bikes. I mean, I love Aprilia, don't I? Love me Italian bikes. But I've had 3 RSV4 factories, and they all went catastrophically wrong. I've had 2 strokes here, RS125 2 strokes that I built from scratch. I just sold the last one. Yeah, I mean, they all just end up needing too much input on them, and they need to be constantly fettled all the time. So I'm back on a Yamaha. I'm on an R6 again. I'm on a 2007 R6. Cool bit of kit. Love it. Sounds nice, goes well. Yeah, as long as it wheelies and I can get my knee down, I'm happy. It's going to be good on track. Sister 19, laugh out loud online. Okay. David, do you go to any of the BSB or World Superbike races? I've been to British Superbikes a few times, yeah. I mean, I've always been, I don't really follow MotoGP as much as I want to. British Superbikes I used to. TT, I love the TT. I mean, I'd love to go to the TT. But obviously, I take my bike on track days. So, but I had like people that followed my page before. I had like 4 bikes in here, 4 or 5 bikes. And I actually had 2 dedicated track bikes. I had a Kawasaki ZX6R and a GSX-R 750 carburetor model. That was my 2 track bikes. But I had a ZX10. I've had loads of bikes: Hayabusas, ZX10s, R1s, Aprilias, about 12 Kawasaki's. I just go through bikes like water. I love them. I love my bikes. But yeah, I'll take my bikes on track. So it's got to be something that I can chuck around, you know. I don't care about going fast in a straight line. It's how well you can get around the corners and get out of the corner. But yeah, I can talk all day about bikes. You should stream more, Jay. Thanks, but I will do. I promise you I will. I will do. Well, I'm not putting that on the page. Yeah, I agree. Mate, every area is the same. When I go to London, flags everywhere, dude. I would love a Bozart mixer. Yeah, I know. I know a couple of people actually got them. They are wicked. Alan Needs, PX5 any good? Yep, I owned one. I had a PX5. Wicked mixer. There's been a few radio stations that I played on. But yeah, wicked. I'm going to Donington Park this year. Oh, nice one. Nice one. Yeah, our closest track over here is Snetterton. It's about 45 minutes up the road. Hunter of Death. I collect turntable and mixer. I've got a lot of classic mixer, even Jazzy Jeff, Gemini mixer. I've still got it. Do you remember the Stanton mixers, guys? The old Stanton ones. Remember them, the scratch mixers with them? They're phenomenal. You ever tried an Ekla? Yep, I have. They're good. You need to make sure you have the... there's a different fader you can get for them. Off the top of my head, I completely forgot what it is. There's a different type of fader that you can pop in them. Not inner fader. They're good as well. Inner fader's fantastic. I've got an inner fader in my Z2. But yeah, they're good cracking. They are cracking mixers. What tyre do you like on track, mate? Oh, well, let's be realistic here. I had a Ducati 749 bright yellow thing. Took that around Snetterton 2 years ago, the last one around track. And I literally bought trackside. I wish I never did because, Jesus, they were expensive because I had to buy them around track. The bike came with a pair of, what were they? Dunlop Qualifier 2s were on the bike, right? No good round track. And I took it round to warm the tyres up and it was sliding everywhere. And I ended up buying a brand new set of 180/60, which is obviously you need that on track, 180/60 for better lean and better stability on a smaller bike. Pirelli Diablo Supercorsa SC1 front, SC2 rear. Wicked. Absolutely wicked. And it was blisteringly hot, so they warmed up super well. But yeah, Dunlop tyres, no, qualifiers are good for the road. On my road bikes, I use Continentals. I use Continental Sport Attacks. Mate, phenomenal. Sport Attack 2s, wicked tyres. The reason I go for Continentals and everything I ever buy for the road, you don't have to scrub them in. You can literally just go to a dealer, have them fitted, and they haven't got silicone. They're not made in the factory with silicone mould. So you can literally just go in and get them fitted. They take the sticker off the back. Within 2 minutes of riding up the road, you moving the bike left and right, that tyre is scrubbed. Because they're designed to be used. They do slick tyres like that as well. It is insane, and they stick to the road like glue. The tread looks amazing on them as well. So yeah, if you are genuinely wanting to buy a set of tyres, they're not even very expensive. But it's not a budget pair of tyres. So yeah, Sport Attack 2s. Wicked. Absolutely wicked. And my R6 came with them fitted. Very, very lucky. And they hadn't turned the wheel. So very lucky with that. By the way, have you got a website? Yeah, you go on to www.justtechnics.co.uk. So you go on Facebook, it's exactly the same. Just type in Just Technics, you will find me. I'm the only business called Just Technics. You'll find me on there. I am a Michelin and Bridgestone fan. Now, I used to be BT45 on the old two-strokes. It's the lovely BT45s. Michelin, I never really got into any of them. I never really got into Michelin. Like Michelin Power Cups. Power Cups are good. But yeah, Michelin Power, what are they called? Power Road, or whatever they are. The 2CTs, didn't like them. Do not get on with them at all. Deadly, deadly tyres. Nice, I'll have a squeeze. What tyres for my Ford Fiesta, Pioneer and Newmark? Fuck, piss off. David, I mean, in Ireland, Continental hard, ridiculously expensive. Yeah. Well, they're easy over here. I mean, I can get a pair for under 280 quid fitted. It's not bad, really. There's no point sticking like part race tyres on these bikes for the road. It just doesn't work. I mean, you get a sniff of. The thing is, people don't realise when people review these bikes and review these tyres, they're doing it in Spain, they're doing it in Italy, they're doing it in places on these Italian bikes or Jap bikes abroad where it's painstakingly hot, where the roads are actually melting the tyres, right? It's that bad. So by the time they review them, they're going, oh my God, these tyres are great. Your bike's great on the side of the tyre. The bike handles beautifully. It will do. It's baking hot. I mean, I did my Pirelli Diablo supercourses, right? Everyone laughed at me because everyone in the paddock was all using tyre warmers on their bikes. I didn't have tyre warmers. I mean, I turn up with road tyres. I didn't have tyre warmers. I put the Pirelli Diablo Supercorsa Pros on my Ducati, and no tyre warmers, brand new, horrible silicone around the tyre. By the time I went around one lap and cranked the bike over, those tyres were bedded in and warm. So it's just about where you are and what your road surfaces are like. But if you're in the UK, you cannot use track-only tyres on the road. You might be road legal to some extent, but there's no point. The minute you get a sniff of water anywhere and the roads get wet, your back end's flying out and the front's doing the same. And I'd rather have something now that does the job properly than looks good. And it goes for the same thing with your Technics, guys. So many people want their decks looking good, but don't care what the internals are like. You wouldn't believe it. People come in here and go, I want them wrapped, I want cables, I want this. What about servicing? No, I don't want it serviced. Yeah, but I need to clean it to do this. So surely you want me to look at your boards at the same time? No. But you're not saving any money, mate. I've got to charge you labour if you're not having a service done. See, here's what happens. If you have a service completed, there is no service charges. I don't charge service charge. As in like labour, not services in service. So if you're paying for a service, there's no labour costs. So if you get halfway through a 5-day booking with me and you decide to go, Jay, I want them wrapped. Okay, pick your wrap, pay for the wrap. If they're already apart, and I've got them in a million bits all sitting on one of my workbenches, why am I going to start charging money, extra hourly wages, if they're already apart? Surely it's going to be easier because I'm not got everything back together. Do you know where I'm coming from? So many of these guys don't give your old parts back. It's crazy as well. Tyres and brakes, everything else is irrelevant on bikes. Oh yeah, tyres and brakes. Look, tyres, brakes, braided lines for your bike, master cylinder, so making sure they stop properly. Most modern bikes now are great. I mean, I'd like ZX7Rs, ZXRs, that sort of stuff. Dated, but you can upgrade that stuff. But tyres are massive on them. Suspension's a big deal. Forks, fork oil, fork springs, making sure that there's practically your preload, your rebound set correctly. The amount of people I know that can't even do that, it's insane. It is insane. If I don't find a decent set of second-hand 1210 soon, I think the new Mark 7s will be my only option. They are all battered on eBay. Problem is now you've got battered ones on eBay and you've also got decks that aren't original. It's very hard. What the best advice I will give anybody that's watching this, if you are in the market for a set of Technics, send me an email via the website. If I see anything come up, I will happily let you know what's available. If I get anything in, you will all have priority. And you can all fight against each other whether you want them or not. In fact, I'll tell you what we'll do. The next time I get a pair for sale, I'll do a live video and I'll show you around the video and you can all decide against you who deserves them more. Because they'll sell otherwise. I don't care. They'll sell. But I'd rather it be a bit of fun, really. Hell lines, yeah. Hell lines, 100%. Will, could I send you just the alloy frame of my decks and have you wrap them that way? Yeah, of course you can. Yeah. I don't do it. The thing is, I used to get asked by people in the UK to do this, as in actually people that do very similar to me. I just refuse to do it. My argument is if they offer servicing and wraps and they can't do it themselves, then don't offer wraps. But if this is for a personal turntable, yeah, I'm quite happy to do that for you. But if you won't be getting another pair out of me. So, yeah, you can send me your plinth. If you've got one of them, it's one. If you've got two of them, it's two. But if you want any more than that, no. No chance. That's the way it is. They've waited properly. Ben, hi up Jay, you're booked up till June, but how much for a full service of a pair of Mark 5s? Well, look, service starts from 150 for a pair of Technics, regardless of the model that you have up to Mark 5. The only thing you need to bear in mind is if you want genuine slider units, get them while you still can, because they're not the cheapest. And there's going to get to a point where they're going to be bloody expensive. So if you do want me to service your Mark 5s, best advice I will give you now is buy a pair of genuine Mark 5 slider units, because once they're gone, they are gone. Same with the Mark 2s. Mark 2s, very hard to find anybody local now in the UK that has genuine units for sale. Trust me, I know. Dave, bought from Japan, changed the Trafos to 240, loads of quality used ones in Japan. Yeah, now this is it. If you're prepared to pay the import fees, then wicked. Absolutely wicked. My import fees jumped up massively, to be fair. Ren, harsh, I'm glad I don't have this issue anymore. It took me literally years to find some good ones. Saw your carbon fibre wraps and it's just stole my heart. He's good. The carbon is nice. Yeah, I mean, carbon anthracite, carbon... where's it gone? I had my swatch here. Oh, hang on a minute. I'll find my swatch. I'll show you. Where the bloody hell did I put it? I literally had it here yesterday. I was showing a customer. Give me a second, guys. Hang on. It's not, the carbon's good, but my personal favourite, right, so you've got two different types of carbon fibre. You've got a black carbon, and you've got an anthracite carbon. So, that's personal preference. Black is always my favourite, there's no way around that. The most popular one, everybody goes for, is that little beauty right there. Textured carbon. Absolutely awesome. There's so many of these guys. I said this all before on videos with 3M. There are hundreds of these. All different colours, all different styles, all different shades. So it really is personal preference what you like. Gloss, glitter, glacier grey. That's a nice one. A glittery effect on them. Got black metallic, psychedelic, satin. That's lovely as well. Changes colour under light. There's a gloss version of that too, if you like your in-your-face colours. Gloss psychedelic. Very nice under light, that one is. So many. Problem is I really want decals still on, and the Technics slide go, what's wrong with that? I can do that. Yeah, I can do that. Let me show you this quickly. So I've got the camera on the stand. It's actually much easier for me to show you. Let's wander over to the other side of my unit very quickly. And I will show you a pair that have been sitting here since October last year. Hang on a second. This is actually a finished pair. So what you're wanting, if you imagine, original graphics, carbon fibre wrap, new pitch trims, new sliders, new underfelts, new trims, wrapped the trims as well. We've got black platters on these, they were horrific. Wrap the platters, it's got green lights all over. Housings have also been wrapped in the same. Top caps wrapped the same. 45 adapters wrapped the same. Literally, you get the idea. The reason the bag's been ripped on this one here, I had so many people that come into my unit and gone, can I have a quick look at them? And yeah, that's basically the long and the short of it. But these are graphics. Look, they're all hardware and graphics. They're not going to just rub off really easily. But yeah, the quality, you can see it. Look, 45. Yeah, I know. I know. But again, it's all done properly. Me, I would have sprayed that black and then done it, but they were in good condition, so. Perfectly level, perfectly straight. Yeah, there's a pair of them, so. Pair of them beauties. There's those two. Then there's this one here as well. Yeah, the thing is, it's personal preference, mate. Everybody's different. Everybody's different. They either want things on them or they don't. No, don't get any Mark 6s, mate. Looks weird. Well, that's your personal preference, buddy. That's the most popular modification I do, is doing decals for them. No, that's actually water damage. It's all water damage. P and J graphic look weird. That's because they're made differently. I've designed them slightly different. You're the first person that said that. State of this, look. Corrosion's hit it so much, it's eating away at the strobe dot, look. No, there's a bit of a backstory behind these, but I'm not going to go into what happened with my customer, but yeah. I mean, that one's all right. That one's got a bit of corrosion on the side of it. This is the matching pair. Yeah, this is the thing. I'd rather have this over many on eBay, and I'd rather have... I don't get why people don't like these. What is it, like the adapter cap? Everyone loves these. Just all suits. That's why I do it. I mean, it's not everybody. Everyone likes things different. If you don't like it, you take them off, don't you? Simple as that. You got to think, I get a lot of customers that come through and they have scratched up on-off caps and don't want to spend a fortune getting replacements because you probably buy them in bulk. So all I do with that is just you put them on there. If you don't like it, you take them off. It's easy. It is matched. You're right. That's exactly that. Everything's matched. I mean, how do you guys not know? But this is the thing. People online are so quick to judge, right? How do you not know that the back end of all this housing's all covered in crap and it's all covered in scratches and it's dented, for an example? I could tell you now that on-off switch on one of these is really badly scratched and the housing has a nasty gouge going around it, and that is exactly why I've done that. Pitch trim, obviously, I've done it like this to match because it just looks nice. This has all been put on there before I put the trim down. No, I meant the old broken ones matched, laughing. I don't mind wrapped. It's cool. Each to their own. Oh, right. Yeah. Oh, on these. Yeah. They're both... yeah, the caps are there. Look. One there and one there. Yeah, that's a nightmare. But yeah, these are... they've seen some state they have. Oh, let's get back over here. We'll get this plinth back where I wanted it before. Hang on. Kind of take it for granted, guys, from watching the video, how just how big this unit actually is. Because it is bigger, not bigger than my other one I used to have. That's for sure. Oh, it's cold now. Right. Anything else, guys, that you guys want to know before I shoot out of here? Because I've got some other bits that I need to do ideally now. Anyone got any further questions before I decide to crack on? Because these two plinth ones I need to do. Since I'm with fire damage but never water damage, that's crazy, as I bet they still work. Yeah, it does. That one does still work. Yeah, it works absolutely fine, believe it or not. It's wired into the case, so I need to cut the connectors basically and rewire in some individual cables. But yeah, the plimps I can sort. The platter there's not a lot I can really do. Why always sport bike? I had a Turono. I had a Toronto Aprilia V4, a setup style. I just prefer the clip-ons, mate. I'm more into my sports bikes. I always have been. Street Fighters I like as well, but yeah, I'm more into my sports bikes. But Toronto was a fun one. You ever ridden a Toronto V4? That's a wheelie machine, that thing was. Yeah, that thing used to bloody lift up the front wheel every gear, pretty much. First, second, third, fourth, vroom, off the throttle, sniff of throttle, that thing used to come up. How you doing, Nathan? How's you, Jay? All good, buddy. Thank you very much. It's been in a video for quite a while now. Yeah, all good. Getting there. Unreal are pretty always better than Ducati. Yeah, they are. When they work. When they work. Aprilia, I mean, I've said this and I will still say this. It's quite funny, actually. If you look around here, poster I've got there, right? Massive Aprilia poster backwards. Guess what film, guys, as well? What film am I watching? But yeah, Aprilia poster. That poster is off of Sylvester Stallone film Driven. That poster was actually on the racetrack, and I got the paperwork to prove it as well. That used to be in front of my decks when I was about 17. Yeah, and that poster there's me Bob Lazar one. And I'll turn this around so you can see this. If I get in contact with you on your website or something regarding those second hand, so those vinyl wraps once I get hold of a second pair of 12s. Wicked. Yeah, I'll show you this one. For those of you space nuts out there, a bit like me, right? That one. Now this one, obviously the Mrs. That's Mrs. Just Technics, that is. My little rocket. Then you've got my old ZXR 750 that I had. Yeah, got to get her a new picture really. That's too small. But yeah, so this poster, guys, that's from Nevada. I bought this from, you must have all heard of Bob Lazar if you're into your UFO stuff like I am. I'm massive into UFOs, aliens, this sort of stuff. The whole Roswell thing. But that is an actual poster from United Nuclear, from Bob Lazar's business. So Bob Lazar is the guy right there. He's the guy that used to work for S4 in Area 51, who backwards engineered UFOs. And he signed it for us as well. And that's actually his signature. It's not a print. So he signed it for me. I asked him to do it. So I used to have it in a frame, but obviously in here I've got everything's all magnetic with magnetic walls, so it's quite cool. But yeah, my ZXR was tasty. That was nice. I had two of them bad boys. But yes, that's the score with that. What else have we got that I can quickly show you? So the posters. Again, posters over here. Look. Obviously, you see my billboard ones to do my videos with, but we've got my clock that I printed. We've got my diagram posters on display here as well. Mark 7 poster. We've got the X-ray one. So again, we go over here. We've got my vinyl printer. That's what I print the vinyl wraps with. Poster printer. X-ray poster. That's my favourite. Let's quickly turn this around. I'll show you this one. Yeah, X-ray poster. Now I do these in A1 print, which is much, much bigger than that one there. Now, and I designed that one with the Technics graphics, etc. Yeah, now what happened with these diagrams is a bit of a story on this, guys. So if you look at the one that's here, that's from America, right? I thought I can do better than that. And what I literally did was got the original schematics, turned them into vector files, blew them up, put my logos on them, and changed the colours. And that's the end result. You get a perfectly sharp image. Got a Mark 7 poster here as well, because you can. The X-ray poster, got a G poster, Reloop, and all the rest of the stuff. But yeah, and the next little thing, constantly asked for, is these. Obviously, I make them all in-house, guys. So this is another new. Yeah, I sell posters. Yeah, do bulk posters. Only in the UK, bearing in mind, because it's too expensive otherwise, but these are actually dust cover stickers. Now, I've done these. They're going to be cut round individually with the machine. And I'm probably going to do resin prints on them. So they're made into resin. But yeah, as for posters, guys, I can print any design you want. That human traffic one I've done here, look, hang on, this is another one. The human traffic print that I've done here is quite a big poster. That's all been done by me. I designed all that from scratch. So that's another one that I did. Some of me Guinness. This is from Christmas last year. Yeah, some of the vinyl wraps, look. Some lovely ones here. Yeah, it's all personal preference, guys. But yeah, posters, I do them. I mean, it's going to be cheaper for you. I usually do, it's usually going to be a tenner each or 3 of them for 20 quid. At the moment, I'm waiting for the ink to turn up for my printer, so. Do you remember seeing those old Ministry of Sound posters where they had those fictional Technics, one pair inside ice? And I thought, yeah, of course I do. Yeah. I remember them. So I have to buy 1 or 2 of them. I wonder if you can print out the original style rear stickers on the back of Technics to say to. Yeah, I can do that. But I'm not going to do that. I can do it though. I've got a vinyl printer, mate. I can print anything. Yeah, you get. This is the thing. A lot of these guys where they sell stickers, those stupid vinyl decals, the ones that you have, they just cut round bits of vinyl and only get so small and they get crappy. Mine's an actual printer. I can print on vinyl. That's what I do. So yeah, you get people with card decals and stickers. I print them. I can do that. Yeah, I remember them yellow ones with plastic cases on your website. I'll buy them. Yeah, they're all the dust cover stickers. They're not on there. But what I would say to anybody that wants to buy posters, hold fire for the minute because the prices on the website are going to be dearer and I'm rejuggling everything around. So bear with it for the time being. I legit thought they were real. They were pretty convincing. But those stickers, oh no, you mean the Technics in the ice thing? Yeah, someone actually did that yellow one. It was called it a sport model, didn't they? They actually made that. Someone made that turntable. Well, they all got made, didn't they? What's that? I think they were real, weren't they? Maybe remember some did them, I don't know. No, there was an actual designer that did the sport model one. I don't know about the transparent one, but the main one, yeah. I'd put a post on Facebook. When posters will be ready, please, pal. I'll buy 3. Yeah, well, that's what I'm going to do. Yeah, there's all sorts that's going to happen. There's going to be merch. There's going to be hats. There's going to be beanies for the winter to keep our heads warm. There's going to be normal hats. There's going to be T-shirts. There's going to be hoodies, jackets, all sorts of stuff. Get the logo out there, guys. We've been doing this for years. It's nice to finally get some merchandise done. Everybody has been on at me to do something, and I am going to start doing it. X-ray poster looks dope. Thank you, mate. There's many different types of X-ray posters that I do with different styles, different inlays, inverted colours. There's one that's like I call it the Predator style outlook view, Predator view. Do them in slip mats. Slip mats is the other one as well, guys. Record bags. Now, I don't know. They're probably going to be courier bags. That's something else I can look into. Yeah, because I'm sure I could do something because I can print on the vinyl. You know where you get, I'll tell you what it is. You know where you buy, you get stickers and you can print them on paper and then you use your iron and you iron them onto your T-shirts. Do you remember them? Can you imagine that? Imagine the printer that you use for the good quality ones that they didn't heat onto the tops. Like when you go to the seaside, people make you T-shirts and you pick what you want and they do it all for you there. I have them. I have the machine that prints that and I have the facility to heat them on. So if I actually do find something that can be done like that, I can do that, yeah. I used to have a black Technics bag, 50 quid for them. Yeah, I had a Technics one and what was it? My UDG one was my trusty. My UDGs were very trusty, my camouflage ones. People in Colchester used to see me walking around town with my little UDG record bag all the time, everywhere, gigging or not. I used to love my UDG bag. I love my Technics hat. Guys, I'm telling you now, it's so hard to get hold of a good one. What was it? Zara's, some women's and blokes clothing place was doing. She was doing some decent clothing for that. Zara's online, but the hats were 4 quid and they all sold them. But yeah, UDG used to get close to get Puck a discount on UDG years ago. I used to have a Technics bag. Transfers, but not really transfers. No, it's an ink-based decal, but it's like a HTV style. So it's not what you think. Jay, can you mod the pitch on the Mark 7? Nope, I won't touch them, mate. I'm not touching them. There's nothing I can do with them anyway. I refuse to touch them. After all of the aggro that I had with Panasonic about them, all of the to-ing and fro-ing of, you know, there's nothing wrong with them and then taking them off a sale and then fixing the problems. No, I will not touch them. I refuse to touch Mark 7s. So no, buddy, unfortunately not. I saw someone post last night actually about how bad the pitch controls were on them. Some people saying they're fantastic, the best they've ever used. And fucking hell, I mean, best they've ever used. I mean, maybe you're very lucky when you got that pair out of the delivery truck there, my old mate, but they're not the best I ever used. I'll tell you that. I had so many people look. This is the thing. Everyone's quick to judge, right? And start saying these things online, and all the keyboard warriors jumping about how fantastic the Mark 7s are. Oh my God, they can't be beaten. Jay doesn't know what he's talking about, blah, blah, blah. But what you don't realise, guys, is, and what these guys don't realise is the amount of customers and the amount of people that contact me. And it's the first thing they say is, "Hi Jay, we watched your YouTube video," and I'm like, "Let me guess, Mark 7s?" Yes. And it's the same problem with every single person. I used to have a tally tick chart on my desk for every single person who used to call me regarding Mark 7s. That tally chart got filled up pretty quick. I'm going to do it again for a giggle, just to see how many people still call me, because it happens every week. There's always somebody with Mark 7s. So yeah, crap. Not my cup of tea. Don't like them at all. Cheap rubbish. And if that lasts you more than 2 years without an issue arising, or 5 years, let's be generous, 5 years, I'd be very surprised. Very surprised indeed. But yeah, I'm not modding anything. You can change the 0 point and things. Like you can put it in service mode. But there's not much you can really do about it other than slightly fine tune the 0 point. That'd be interesting to see. Why can't Technics get dust covers right? My GR cover hits the on-off switch. Well, I don't know, mate. It's the first time I've ever heard of that one before. My GR dust covers were both smashed when I got them brand new. Didn't have them long enough to even worry about it, really. I just sold them with the dust covers, and I think I lost about 50 quid. Do you think there'll be some Mark 8s? I fucking hope not. Look, let's be honest now. If anybody's really put their hands together and have got their fingers and toes crossed, hoping for a pure analog pitch control system on the Technics turntable now, with anything coming out or any turntable, I think we've got a pretty long way. I think you might as well just give up, because I think the way we're going now, everything is digitally controlled. It's just the ease of manufacture, it's mass production, and it saves them money. There's less to go wrong, because there's something that's mass produced, and if it does go wrong, it's easy turnaround, quick turnaround. So yeah, I wouldn't have my fingers crossed on a Mark 8. I said what they should have done was done a 1200 and a 1210 in a slightly special edition with the old style components. I did like 1210 1210 units and 1200 units, and done a limited run of those numbers and done them up to the number they are, and had them as an original unit in a newer case. That's what I would have done. That would have been awesome. But unfortunately, that's never going to happen. Well, I'll never say never, but I doubt it. I don't think they're bothered. They don't bother to help me. They don't bother to help anybody that's contacted them. Why can't Technics do? Do you think there'll be a Mark? It also cracks too easy. Yes, they do. Yep, wear and tear on the dust covers on the switch. Yep, crap. Never done that before. What some people don't realise is OG Technics are made so well, that's why we like them. Yep, built like tanks. Those ones on the floor I just showed you, still work. Covered in water damage, still work. Covered in corrosion, still work. Still spin up, still, I don't know about holding the time right, but they still work. Can you imagine doing that to a pair of Mark 7s? Or even a GR? Probably just switch straight off. Japanese steel. GRs are cheaper than older models. GRs are cheaper than older models. Not for a pair, they're not. I mean, what, £1,200 for an individual unit? £1,150, something like that? Mark II, second hand, 600 quid, 500 quid. You get a pair of them for the price of one. So, I don't agree with that, that's what you're saying, mate. I know that because I bought a pair of them for new, and a pair of Mark 7s, didn't I? One thing that a lot of people have been asking and actually saying online, I've noticed, is people that struggle with mixing. Some guys have been saying about changing it to +16, and you will find that mixing on them is slightly easier. Now, there is a theory behind this, and I am inclined to agree with this. For those of you out there that have digitally controlled pitch control in your turntables, it hasn't got to be a Technics. If you've got +16, on your turntable, or plus 25, not 50, but plus 16. So you don't want to go for the highest, fastest movement. Go for the in-between or the second lowest. You know, I said about the whole digital stepping, right? So if you've got plus or minus 16, even on plus 8, you move it that small amount in a group of blocks, that little amount you'll move it is doing nothing. And you'll find that when you move it, it moves over the amount you want. And if you're trying to speed something up and you move it, it'll be too fast because it goes over the amount that you want and there's no way of compensating. That's why you are constantly on your pitch trying to keep it in, right? Now, if you imagine, so I think let's try and explain this the easiest way. Hang on. Right, let's explain this an easy way. All right, to try and draw this down. Plus minus 8, plus minus 16. Right, let's try and advise this an easy way, right? These two lines, guys, yeah? Let's say, for an example, that one there is plus 8, minus 8, right? That one there, you switched it to plus or minus 16. Your 0 point's always going to be in the middle no matter what you do. But if you imagine you switched it over from plus or minus 8 to plus or minus 16, halfway between your 8 and 16 is another half of your pitch, right? It's half of what it is. So that's 2 8s. So it's double the amount of pitch. So what's going to happen is those little resolutions that you're making in a plus 16 format means that instead of moving bigger amounts to try and get it in, you're going to be moving it smaller amounts. So technically, those of you that are saying about putting it to plus or minus 16 are actually onto something. Because in theory, you're making that range bigger, but you're also making the steps smaller. In reality, and in theory, that's what it does. It makes those sets smaller. But that does make sense. So if you haven't already tried it, give it a go. Now, it's ridiculous on plus or minus 50. There's no point in doing that. But middle of the road, between them, no matter what it is, whether it's 25 or whatever it is, 16, it's not a bad shout. So if you haven't already tried it, give it a go. Because you're halving and then moving the pitch up. So the steps should be smaller. It may mean it'll be even more twitchy, but it should be more accurate and easy to keep things in. Now, I did this with my mixers last night, because I've also got those LTAs from that video. I did this last night on mine, and it did a lot easier. So definitely give it a go. Definitely try it. Have I got a 3M swatch for your brush metal? I do indeed, mate. I do indeed. There is 3 different types. You have got brush steel, brush titanium, and brush black. You've got 1200s, beautiful. Brush steel's lovely as well. And brush black. All 3 of them, very, very nice. Both very nice. Can you imagine that the weave, for an example, you have it going that way on your turntables, going across. You wouldn't have it going down, it looks ridiculous, but going across. Yeah, brush titanium is my favourite. I've done quite a few turntables in brush titanium. That's a lovely, lovely wrap, that is. Yeah, there's some really nice ones. Do you have a dark red? Yeah, I got red. In fact, it's come straight on here. We've got smothering red, vampire red, matte red metallic, red metallic. Right, mate, you'll be here all day. There's loads of them. There is loads of them. Look. Vampire red. That one's nice. Hot rod red. Ferrari. There's not really one that matches that. I mean, these are all, you got to think, if they started copywriting like Kawasaki green, for an example, you wouldn't get away with it. So they haven't been that brave. How about a pearl white? There is a ghost white. I actually had a roll of that at one point. Not really, I'll be honest, I'm not really a huge fan of white. White gold sparkle, that's quite tasty. Pearl white. There you go. Satin pearl white. You can't really see it. It's just a white colour, guys, isn't it? I mean, it's not really much that. Satin frozen vanilla. This is quite cool. Again, it's very hard to see it because it's just a white colour. But that frozen vanilla one is it's got like a slight shimmer to it. No one really goes for white. I mean, it's one of the most. It's a very common colour. You know, I mean common in like people want it. It's just common as in. They don't want it anymore. It gets filthy as well. I wouldn't go for white. I don't like white ones. I prefer white graphics, to be honest. White over something looks better, so I tend to stick away from white and cut in wrap. There you are, satin flip ghost pearl. That's the one I was trying to find. Now, whether you can see this or not on camera, can't really see it. What it's got, it's a gloss, what's a satin wrap, but it's got like a slight neon style flip to it. You can't really see it, unfortunately. It's not really that noticeable, but it is. It's the problem is all whites look the same on the camera. So there's not a great, real big point of me really doing any of that. Are the vinyl wraps easily removed if you need to be resales? Yeah, but my advice is keep them on. Don't take them off. They sell really easily. As long as you go for something that's, look, let's be realistic. If you turned around and said to me, Jay, I want them done in pink, right? Unless you really know someone that wants pink turntables, they're not going to buy them, are they? So go for something, if you're going to have something out there, think very carefully before you have it done. That's why I hate 1210s. Black always faded too quick. You're not going to get that problem with wraps. Wraps are completely different. I mean, you're not going to put your hand over a wrap and then after a period of time it's all going to start fading. The whole 5 to 7 year external guarantee is weatherproofing. And I mean, if you're going to be using that on a set of turntables, mate, you can wrap your... I could wrap a desk right now, and I mean, it's their hardware and they last for a very long time, and most people don't bother changing them at all. It's just how they are. If you were taking gigging, then yeah, candy apple red have you got? Jesus, here we go. Everyone's on the hunt now, aren't they? Probably not, mate. It's going to be something that's going to be close to that. Gloss hot rod, gloss dark red. It's only whatever 3M have in there. Fiery orange, dragonfire red. To be fair, dragonfire red, that one, hot rod red, and they're the two brightest ones we've got there. That's more than likely what you're after. Cadbury's purple. Don't. I know you're not all pulling me leg now, but there is stuff on here that's gonna match. Purple's not a bad shout, you know. I don't actually think. Oh, hang on, they have got a purple. There's two, actually quite, hey, that's actually pretty spot on. Look at this, look. Two different types. You've got gloss fierce fuchsia, apparently that is, and you've got gloss plum explosion. I'd say that's the big purple one that you get out of your quality streets at Christmas, guys. Yeah, we have got one that matches. That's actually a really nice wrap. I'm surprised no one's gone for that. Harsh, do yourself a favour and buy some used ones over the MK5G and 5G. Look nice, but that's about it. Yes, yes, and yes. Somebody else I can agree with on that. M5Gs are the nicest, lovely looking Technics you're going to get, but they are an absolute pain in the arse to mix with. That is about it. You are right. Metallic brown. I'm not doing it anymore. I've had enough now, Ben. But yeah, there is metallic brown. There's all different colours in there. Look on the website, guys. Go on justtechnics.co.uk. Go on the vinyl wrapping section. There is a colour swatch there. There is a virtual swatch and colour chart even, so you can see them. Metallic brown. I'll go for that. There's loads of them, mate. There's loads, guys. You'll have a field day going through them. So many different wraps. So many different wraps. I love it. It's just a nice way of changing the way of something that looks. But there's a lot of prep work involved. Any advice I'd really give you is if something's really badly scratched and chipped and it's to the point of no return, your paint's going to need to be removed. Just bear that in mind. Sometimes it's always best to get the paint removed, then we'll spray around the edges in a section and then do it. These are the PDFs from the site. What's that? I was just popped on my phone. You just go on the website, guys. Go on the website. They're all there. Giovanni, mate, taking a risk. They are what they are. I'd pay more for some Mark 2s. Unfortunately, some haven't got any in stock, guys. I literally sold the Mark 5s last week. There is nothing else. Not at the moment. Not at the moment. Right, I think we'll leave it there, peeps. It's been a few hours doing this video now, I think, isn't it? Must have been a good couple of hours now, surely. So you vinyl wrap, you can't print them. Your vinyl wraps, you can't. Like I said earlier, I've got a vinyl printer. Got that over there is a big blue machine in the corner. It's a vinyl printer. So I used to do vinyl printing for them. Everybody that has wraps done now all go for the 3M. Vinyl wrapping, the printing side is good, okay, getting them printed, but I would say that is more for promotional stuff. So the idea around the printing side of it is more for working DJs that want to take their turntables around to gigs. You know, I wouldn't trust them throwing them up against something and scratching the sides and being more durable. That's why you go for 3M. My vinyl that I print on is either Metamic or 3M. Expensive stuff, but it's double the price of what your vinyl's going to be if you went for just a single style of vinyl, you know, one that's already impregnated with that color style. What's that? It's popped up. Mark 2s, they have to be mint when you buy them. Get a good pair that have been butchered and sent to Jay to get serviced and sent another mint pair. Thank you. Well, that is another option, guys, yeah. As long as I've got time to do it. As long as I've got the time to do it, you're laughing. But yeah, we'll leave it there, peeps. I'll keep the video on there. Just bear in mind, if you just joined and you want to watch this back, skip the first 5 minutes, I think, because that's when I was trying to fathom out my little tablet, which let me down massively. So yeah, I won't be using that again for that. We'll stick to just using that for schematics, shall we? And yeah, we'll keep it at that. But guys, thank you ever so much for watching. Honestly, I really appreciate it. Anyone's got any questions on anything, pop them in the comments below. I will try and get back to everybody. And like I say to everybody on here, and like I say to every single video, any nasty comments will be removed. You'll be blocked from the page. So please, guys, you know, keep it clean. And yeah, I'll see you all soon, guys. I will definitely do another video. Don't worry. See you later, guys. Have a good one. Enjoy your weekend. I'm feeling to stop this video now, I think. How do I do it? Don't get caught up in the naysayers. No, I won't. Don't worry. See you later, guys. Take it easy.